Yes, yo. Another Saturday night. Therefore, another Saturday night shoot the breeze. I want to thank everyone who will be here tonight, live with us, in the chat, on the panel. I want to thank everyone who will be listening to the playback. All right, make sure to drop some comments. Let us know you were around and you appreciated the conversations that we had. I want to hop on here early, as you should know by now, to let you guys know what we have in store for you tonight. Let me see if I can get through it myself. Hold on. Tonight, we're going to discuss a video where a black man is making some statistical claims that black fathers are not liked by their children. Do you believe this to be true? We're going to look at a situation where a black woman was offed by a police boyfriend. We're going to talk about the forgotten children from the war in Congo. What must be done? We're gonna have a discussion and answer the question: is Great House, that's X spots the mark on Twitter, is Great House the worst Afrocentrist on Twitter? That should be an interesting discussion. We're going to do a media analysis tonight, despite how cruel Hannibal is when it comes to being a great innovator of Western world military strategy. What are your thoughts on this analysis about the sacrifice of black imagery? So that has to do with Denzel being cast as Hannibal in the upcoming movie. So we're going to discuss that as well. I want you guys to be prepared tonight for when we do our shout outs at the end of the show, to shout out something positive. You guys in the chat can do it. You guys in the playback can do it. And the guys in the panel will do it. Talk about something positive you saw in the black world this week. All right. That'll be great. I see Daily Affirmations is out there. You guys can hear my voice, correct? Hit drop one if you can hear my voice. Other things we'll be discussing tonight. What I'm going to do now is officially start the show. And on the other side, I'll welcome in any and all panelists, as well as drop Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 tonight. So do stay tuned.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about black empowerment. Our show focuses on black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Koku. Just want to remind you guys before we get the show rolling that this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio. There are other shows on the network you are invited to tune into.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the Pro-Black Perspective, where black problems are addressed with black solutions.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the Revolutionary Matron, on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Yes, indeed. Make sure to check out Brother Bakari, the forecast. Hold on a second. I got to mute that mic. Let's remember to check out Brother Bakari. He was on earlier today. The forecast is on several times a week. the matron right now. She's been on a couple times a week doing her readings of Carlos Cooks currently, and also Realm in the Bush, Considered Cheek. Make sure to check her out and check out some of the other folks who are around this space as well. Check out some of their platforms as well. Without further ado, let me welcome in my first panelist tonight. That'll be Oni from the Pro Black Perspective. Oni, how are you tonight?
Hey, I'm cool. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, cool. Yeah,
Thanks
man, I'm good, man. How's everything with you?
Good. I can't complain. Thanks for coming through. Right now it's just Oni and I. Trigger Happy 262 Plus out in the chat saying peace. Daily Affirmations by Pauline was here as well. What I'm going to do without further ado, I want to drop Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 tonight. Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 tonight says, do you believe this is true? This takes us to a link on Instagram. I'll share my screen with you guys. The post says, no love for dad. I don't know how to start these from the beginning. Let me see if I could do something here.
So if you active in your kid's life,
let me see if I restart it. That will help.
Survey, they said black men, over 70% of black men is hated by their children. Over 70%. But peep this the guys that is active in their children's lives. The ones that's not active is only 50%. So if you active in your kid's life, it's a 1 in 4 chance they don't like your black ass. If you're not active, it's damn near 50-50 chance they like your black ass. But they said worldwide with all nationalities, it's a 60% rate that the father, that the alpha male is not liked. You're the bad guy for trying to protect everybody. You're the bad guy for trying to keep the family together. It's a mean, cruel world. Y'all stay on point and watch y'all back. They did a survey. They said black men, over 70% of black men is hated by their children. Over 70%. But peep this the guys that is active in their children's lives. The ones that's not active is only 50%. So if you active in your kid's life, it's a 1 in 4 chance they don't like your black ass. If you're not active, it's damn near 50-50 chance they like your black ass. But they said worldwide with all nationalities, it's a 60% rate that the father, that the alpha male is not liked. You're the bad guy for trying to protect everybody. You're the bad guy for trying to keep the family together. It's a mean, cruel world. Y'all stay on point and watch y'all back. They did a survey. They said black men, over 70% of black men is hated by their children. Over 70%. But peep this the guys that is active in their children's lives. The ones that's not active is only 50%. So if you active in your kid's life, it's a 1 in 4 chance they don't like your black ass. If you're not active, it's damn near 50-50 chance they like your black ass. But they said worldwide with all nationalities, it's a 60% rate that the father, that the alpha male is not liked. You're the bad guy for trying to protect everybody. You're the bad guy for trying to keep the family together. It's a mean, cruel world. Y'all stay on point.
Yeah, I kind of agree, and I think it makes sense a little bit in terms of if you're a father who stuck around, you are going to be the disciplinarian. You're going to be the one who makes things tough. Now, the one thing I wish he had stated was, what ages are we talking about in terms of children? Because I do think with time, it's on us to, as children who become adults, it's on us to kind of understand what was happening, right? It's for us to understand what was happening, and outside of physical and mental abuses and whatnot. Yeah, the father was going to be the tough guy. The mom is the coddler. That's just how it kind of unfolds. That's how I've seen it, right? The father is going to be the tough guy, and so as a child, as a small child, you might not get it, but as you grow up, you're supposed to understand, and those sentiments, in my opinion, should change. Now, I've seen it before, where the father was the tough guy, and the children grew up to be grown men and women, and they had animosity towards their father for how he was when they were younger. And I think that's kind of foolish. I think there's a point where you're supposed to recognize what was going on and adapt. Shout out to Athrazer, who's out there. He's a sponsor of tonight's show too, by the way. So make sure to check out his channel. Check out his music as well. But only, what say you to that? What do you think about this idea of the fathers not being like the ones who are present?
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna. Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it on the head. I was reminded of the Machiavelli quote, but they say it's not really a quote. Where they say he says it's better to be feared than loved. Although apparently he doesn't say that. He says something like, if you it's better if you can be both. It's better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. I guess, I don't know, not sure, but yeah, I mean, as you put it, like I said, people are controlled by, I would say, three things, right? Self-interest, obviously, right? But then also consequences, rewards, and punishments. And the reality is this: you as the dad have the job, the responsibility to give out the punishments. You understand? And whereas the woman who might not understand the punishment paradigm, may be the one giving out rewards, or maybe the one pleading, hey, that punishment's enough, or blah, blah, blah. Like she might not get it. You get what I'm saying? But from a child's point of view, or really just generally from anybody's point of view, but from a child's point of view, you're going to see, oh yeah, I like the rewards better than the punishment. So like for instance, right now my son's with his mother. Yeah, not saying anything bad about her or anything, but like he's probably on his tablet, for hours. He like he's probably on his tablet for hours. He's probably he gets to eat 4 meals a day, and she doesn't see him too much, so she might cook him a full meal, whatever he wants. And he doesn't want something, she might make him eat it. If he gets if he wants, she doesn't want to eat vegetables, she might make him eat vegetables and give him ice cream or something like that. It's all bullshit, right? I wouldn't do that shit. I can't do that, like cooking shit. But also I can't do things. So it's like, if I were in his perspective, in small doses, in the small nice dose he gets with her, yeah, I would probably, if I were him, I'd probably say, yeah, my mom, is absolutely against violence, right? If I go on the phone, like I can slam the door in her face and she'll just write my dad. He slammed the door in my face. Shh, he's so rude. It's like, look, I don't know this boy to slam no doors. Like, I don't know. Like, he's just a different kid over there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what she's talking about. Like, she'll be like, yo, he slammed the door. He throwing shit out the window. You're like, what are you talking about? I know this kid like the back of my head. He ain't never even been to no window. You know what I'm saying? like not from the first time I saw him go to a window, he ain't never been to a window back. You know what I'm saying? But with her, like I said, if you ain't disciplining the kid, he could do whatever he wants. He can slam doors. He could, be on the tablet. He could, blah. Got no education. Of course, from his perspective, that's that. I'm not gonna say he likes it more. I don't want to say that because, like I said, I got a legal case pending, right? You know what I'm saying? Anything I say can be used against me. But my point is that, if you're not about disciplining your kid, like me, my kid does something out of turn, I might send him to timeout. You understand? And if he not, and of course I'm doing the PC version because like I said I got a pending court case. But my point is that you might set him timeout. He don't wash his hands after vacuuming the floor. You're like, wait, he vacuumed the floor? Yeah, after vacuuming the damn floor, if you don't wash his hands, you go to timeout. When you going around my house without washing, you know what I'm saying? He not gonna like that. Now, if he at his mom's house and he don't got a vacuum, don't got to clean, he could just be on his tablet, eat, throw the food on the floor, put his feet up, don't got to wash his hands, don't got to do nothing, I mean, it's a no-brainer that, when it comes to which parent do I like more, which parent, because again, like when you're a man and you standing on business, right? You expect things from your kids. Like I'll give you another example. My son would write a paragraph. Now my son's not great at writing paragraphs yet. Okay, very, very incoherent. So when I read it, I'm like, okay, dude, this is no. Here's how you correct it. Correct this. Delete it. Correct. So on and so forth. When his mother reads it, oh, you're such a good writer. Oh, you're an amazing writer. And he's giggling and smiling. Yeah, I'm a good writer. He's not a good writer. You know what I'm saying? but again, the psychology is there. The psychology is different, right? And so, obviously, I don't agree with what she's doing, but and as guys, we're gonna say we don't agree with what she's doing. But then some ladies might listen to what I'm saying and say, look, I don't agree with what you're doing, Oni. Why you don't tell the boy he's writing good sentences? And that's fine. That's the whole thing about the male-female balance. That the man and the woman could have different opinions and to each other could seem wrong, but they're not. Neither of them are wrong. The boy needs the positive affirmations, right? As well as the negative corrections. He needs both. And unfortunately, there's two people to give both of them. Fortunately, there's two people. Or even like real talk, I do, praise him when he gets a correct sentence or a correct paragraph, and he enjoys that. So it's not like I'm, completely out of the thing. But, but again, I personally am applying, discipline, common sense, and I mean, his mother might see it differently. But again, it's not about her. It's just generally speaking, and again, like there might be some women who are saying, hey, look, I agree with you, Oni. And there might be some men who say, look, I disagree with you, Oni. That's fine. My point is that one of the reasons why a father might be more disliked than a mother is, hey, like we might be genetically predisposed with our testosterone, genetically predisposed to be like, look here, you're not doing this shit. When I tell you to come home at 8:00, you here at 7:59. You understand? And the woman might be like, hey, look, it's okay. It's only 8:14. And that's again, that there's a balance. But yeah, I would say definitely it's okay because your goal is not to be liked. Your goal is to be a parent, but your goal is to make this child into a man or a woman that's worthy of your freaking name. You know what I mean? So that when they say, "Oh, your only son," they're not like, oh, you know what I mean? Like they're not. Wow, okay. I didn't expect your dad to be that guy, right? They're more like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's the whole thing. You know what I mean? Some dudes be, they're legends. You know what I'm saying? They legends, and their daughters is shaking their ass in the like, come on. You know what I mean? Yeah. Shaking their ass for like $10. Like if your daughter's shaking her ass for $10, you fucked up as a parent. She might like you, cause you let her shake her ass for $10 fucking bucks. You know what I mean? Of course she's gonna like you. But for me, it's like, no, you find my son, and I'm not saying my son's impressive right now, but the whole point is to get him to that. You got multiple years to get him there. You got multiple years to get him there, and that's the ultimate goal. Like you want him to write a paragraph and be like, damn, yeah, that's only son. You don't want him to write a paragraph and be like, okay, well, he wrote something. But anyway, that's it. My fault.
No, I appreciate it. Let's welcome in our boy Buana, how are you, first of all? Buana, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. At least I can't hear you. Only can you hear Buana?
Yeah, he's talking a bunch of bullshit. No, I'm just looking. I can't
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, man. So, sorry I'm late. Yeah, I just fell asleep, really, but I was listening to only drawn on about being a dad, and only probably is the disciplinarian in that relationship dynamic. I missed the first prompt, but in listening to only sounds like he's a disciplinarian. My dynamic is different in growing up. My mother was kind of like more the disciplinarian. My dad was kind of like very laid back. He didn't really like to beat and shit like that. So it's just interesting the dynamics when you grow up in a household, how that works. So I guess I don't know. 10 years from now we'll see what only structure produces. I'm sure it'll produce something very smart. But you really never know. You really never know with children, man. They could go either way.
So Buana, this is the first topic, by the way.
Okay.
The prompt is a short one. I'll play it again, and so you'll know exactly what we're speaking to.
Over 70%. But peep this the guys that is active in their children's lives. The ones that's not active is only 50%. So if you active in your kid's life, it's a 1 in 4 chance they don't like your black ass. If you're not active, it's damn near 50-50 chance they like your black ass. But they said worldwide with all nationalities, it's a 60% rate that the father, that the alpha male is not liked. You're the bad guy for trying to protect everybody. You're the bad guy for trying to keep the family together. It's a mean, cruel world. Y'all stay on point and watch y'all back. They did a survey. They said over 70% of black men is hated by their children. Over 70%. But peep this the guys that is active in their children's lives. The ones that's not active is only 50%. So if you active in your kid's life, it's a 1 in 4 chance they don't like your black ass. If you're not active, it's damn near 50-50 chance they like your black ass. But they said worldwide with all nationalities, it's a 60% rate that the father, that the alpha male is not liked. You're the bad guy for trying to protect everybody. You're the bad guy for trying to keep the family together. It's a mean, cruel world. Y'all stay on point.
So, Buana, before you got here, like I was saying, before only decided to speak, the one problem I understand the video, and I agree with the prompt. I do believe that this is true. The one issue I have with it, with him citing this study, he didn't say what the ages of these children are. Are we talking about adult children who don't like their father? Because I've seen that. I've seen that back home, right? Adults who don't like their father because of stuff that he might have done when they were children. And my thing is, I think that's an issue. I understand that children during the time of childhood, they're not going to like the disciplinarian that a father usually tends to be, right? They're more so side with their mother. In your case, Buana, was reversed, I guess. But that's my only issue. Is he talking about small children or adult children? Because that's two different arguments. But Buana, what say you now that you've seen the video? All right, Buana is having some technical difficulties. Yes.
You can't hear me. I guess y'all can hear me now because I'll just have to take these headphones out. I had a different experience, and I have to find out who group of people is he referring to. Is he referring to white people, and then they're just including black people in it? I have to find out where the statistics come from. Is he speaking about Caribbean people who fathers was? Because I love my father growing up. I had a good experience with my dad. It was only when we got older, um, when we kind of like had loggerheads with one another, because that's what men do. Men disagree. men disagree about how they go about doing things. So I think that that's what happened to me and my dad. But I love my pops growing up. And maybe that's an odd experience, but I am not familiar with what this brother would have experienced growing up. I don't believe, and my pops is pretty active. He would try to be involved, even though he would work, even though he was working 24/7. So maybe that's what it is. He wasn't as active as these brothers suggesting, because my pops had like 2, 3 jobs, man. He was a worker. So it's just we had a different experience. I think that, and I really would like to know where he would have gotten these statistics from, and in the sampling and the people who he would have grouped together. Who groups of people is he referring to? Is he referring to white people or black communities, or I don't know where the statistic comes from, because I don't necessarily. It's too he's generalizing on populations that I don't necessarily agree with. That's not been my experience. And 70% of is very, very high. That's very, very high. So I don't agree with that. I really don't agree with. For active fathers, I don't agree with that. I really don't. I think he's talking about his experience driving from his baby mama's house and having words with her, and now he's angry and putting it out there on the internet. But that's not really been my experience. As a matter of fact, I've found people where their fathers wasn't active. The children are like have a fu kind of feeling on sentiment towards him. F that N word. They don't really care about him because he never was around. So I don't necessarily agree with these kinds of statements, but it's just that's my position on it.
Appreciate that, boy. Now, let's welcome in our boy Black Steel this week. How are you?
I'm doing good, everyone. I'm glad you replayed the prompt. I was going to set this one out because I didn't hear the prompt, but when you replayed it again, I could go back and I could give my thoughts on it. I would like to see, where he got this study from. I mean, I want to know the sample size, again, the ages, the social economic factors, whatever. But I will understand that, as a parent, again, we're not here to be like, we have a responsibility to do. And sometimes those decisions might be unpopular with our children. So if you have a child who's, not doing well in school, you take away their phone, you take away their video games, you put them on some strict rules and regulations so you bring those grades up, they're not going to like that. But ultimately, what we're doing is for their own good. Kids don't always know what's best for them. I know in this new generation of, letting kids speak their mind and gentle parenting, all that other shit. Kids don't always know what's best for them. If many of them would go to bed and have candy for dinner and stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning if you let them. But we can't let them. That's our responsibility because they're children. They don't necessarily know what they want. Growing up, I can't again. I don't really have a relationship with my biological father. I was raised with my stepfather. My mom did disciplining. My grandmother, if I had to think back about it, we could say whooping. The worst whooping I ever received wasn't from my mom or my dad or my stepfather. It was from my grandmother. And I got to look back and say, hey, I kind of deserved it because I was talking shit. Shouldn't have been talking shit. But overall, like I said, I do understand the point. Sometimes as parents, we have to make decisions that aren't popular, and that can be male or female. But I think sometimes as men, it comes down because we're seen as the heads of household. We're seen as that final word, and sometimes we have to put some bass in our voice if necessary, and that's not what kids want to hear. Now, I would say if you're looking at age ranges, is there some abuse involved? There's some neglect involved, or is it just because hey, my dad gave me a 11 o'clock curfew, and I hate his guts for that? No, we're not. It's time to grow up and move past that. But I do understand his point about having to make tough decisions that aren't popular, and it is what it is sometimes. And I don't know. My kids love me. I can't speak to these kids. My kids love me, but I don't know. I can't really speak to that. But I'd like to see more information about his data. But again, we gotta make tough choices that aren't popular at the time they're made. I'll never forget. There was one time. I had, I was a young man. I had a little girlfriend. I snuck her in the house one time. I got caught, and I was in trouble for it. So at one point, I shouldn't have did what I did. Stinging people in the house. My mom was at work. My stepdad was out. Should have done that. But at the same time, hey, what happens if you get this girl pregnant? What happens if she says you did something to her? Don't put yourself in that position. So I didn't like my parents at that time. But in retrospect, I realized what they were doing was trying to protect me and help me understand things that I didn't really understand at the time. So I think you should be able to look back over time as an adult and realize, hey, there's no instruction manual to this shit. There's no guidebook or anything like that. There's no perfect parents. So I think that they really tried and did the best they could, and they gave you some discipline. And you can't just be discipline all the time. You have to, intermingle that with some rewards and some encouragement as well. So I think you have to kind of encompass everything. Don't just do all of it. I don't necessarily agree it should be the woman doing one thing and the men doing the other thing. Both parties need to do everything that's necessary to raise a kid. So I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Appreciate that, Black Seal. I'll say generally though, not that I care about the day myself, but there's a difference between Mother's Day and Father's Day. I'll just say that, and I'll leave it there. If there's no last thoughts on this prompt, we'll go to Shooter Breeze topic number 2. So if you have any last thoughts, let me know now. Yeah.
Coco, you
Yes,
still
sir.
getting crop for Father's Day.
Nah, like Black Steel, my kids love me too, but I'm a disciplinarian type. I'm going to school you and discipline you when you do bad, and I'm going to praise you when you do good too. Let's try, and like I tell my children, let's try to do good more than we do bad. But I personally don't have the issue, but I can see. See, I'm one of these people. I could put myself. I could see where fathers, the ones who stick around, the one who are the providers, the protector, the disciplinarian, this, that, and the other. I could see small children not liking that person versus the mom, who tends to be the coddler, the nurturer, etc. Right? I could just see that being the case, and I've seen examples of that too. But like y'all said, I think the issue with the video is that the guy doesn't give us enough information. Are we talking children 13 to 18? Are we talking now? He did talk about race. He did say black. He did talk about white. He said in general is like 60% of dads across race are disliked, etc. But I wish he would have talked about when you say children, what do we mean exactly when you say children? With that said, let's go to Shooter Breeze topic number 2. Shout out to Grandma used to saying hello to all. I appreciate you. Lara earlier said, I love my pops too, a great man who did his best for us and still. Shooter Breeze topic number 2 tonight. Shooter Breeze topic number 2 tonight says, Black woman offed by police boyfriend. This came with a link. I think it's taking us to an article. Let's see what comes up. This came with 2 attachments, so this is just the first one. So this takes us to this article that says, family demands justice for woman shot by boyfriend. So I'm guessing this is the woman. Madwa was allegedly shot to death by her lover in Kumasi. So I guess what? We'll listen to the article so I don't have to read it. Let's see if it works.
Family demands justice for woman shot by boyfriend. The family of a 26-year-old woman, shot and killed in cold blood at Adam in Kumasi last Thursday, has called for justice for the bar attendant. The family has thus appealed to the police to thoroughly investigate the shooting incident and bring the culprit to book. Victoria Dapa, also known as Ma Adwoa, was shot dead by a yet-to-be-identified man, suspected to be a jealous boyfriend, in a shocking incident which occurred around 10 p.m. last Thursday. The incident is said to have occurred close to Duffy Towers at Adam. The deceased was rushed to the Kamfo Anakai Teaching Hospital, KWAZ, where she was pronounced dead on arrival. The auntie of the deceased, Adwoa Nyarko, said even though the woman would not be brought back to life, arresting and prosecuting the culprit would bring some relief to the family. She said Ma Adwoa had just finished taking her bath and was preparing to go to bed when she had a phone call and decided to go out. She said even her brother and one other auntie tried to stop her, but she said she was not going far, and left only for us to hear of the gunshots and later saw her in a pool of blood. Ms. Nyarko said the family was not aware of the relationship between the woman and a said tycoon, but only knew of her footballer boyfriend, who was currently outside the country. Manhunt. The police have since mounted a manhunt for the said tycoon. Eyewitnesses said they had heard Ma Adwoa plead with someone she called tycoon not to kill her just before the gun was shot. They said the pleadings followed what seemed to be an argument, but the said tycoon probably ignored her pleas and pulled the trigger 5 times before bolting on a rickshaw. We did not see when it exactly happened, but we heard 2 gunshots, and then we heard Ma Adwoa pleading with tycoon not to kill her, and then we heard 3 more shots in quick succession, and by the time we rushed to the scene, tycoon had run away from the scene, one of the eyewitnesses said. Confirmation. A source at the KWAZ confirmed to the Daily Graphic that a female, aged about 26, was brought in dead at the accident and emergency unit of the hospital last Thursday night. Also speaking on the issue, the assembly member of the area, Patrick Yeboah, described it as shocking, saying the area was a relatively peaceful neighborhood. Such an incident has never happened here before. Despite it being a business district, it is usually calm in the evening when traders leave. It was only once that some police officers shot a criminal dead in the area. Aside from that, nothing of this sort, Mr. Yeboah said. Latest video of Wayosi and wife warms hearts. STC bus transporting SHS students crashes on Kasoa Cape Coast Highway. MDC
Okay. This same problem came with another link. That's taking us to, I think, Ghana Web. Ma'adua suffered 6 bullet entry, 7 bullet exit wounds. Adam murder autopsy report. It says the late Victoria Depa, also known as Ma'adwa, was shot and killed by a supposed lover in April 2023, suffered multiple entry and exit wounds. The bullets were shot from a gun that Inspector Ahmad Twomasi used to commit the act in Adum, a suburb of the Ashanti regional capital. According to an autopsy report by the Komfo Anoke Teaching Hospital, or KWAZ, the deceased suffered 6 bullet entry wounds and 7 exit wounds. The report was presented to Kumasi High Court during hearing of the murder case brought against the inspector on the 26th of July. The report added that the deceased died of hemorrhagic shock due to multiple gunshot injuries. Pathologists described the manner of death as quote-unquote unnatural. An Asasi radio report added that prosecutors told the court that 6 spent shells and a 9mm service rifle allegedly used by Inspector Ahmed Twomasi to commit the crime were obtained at the scene. The exhibits, which also included a swab stick with blood samples obtained at the scene, have been forwarded to the police forensic laboratory for examination. The inspector has pleaded not guilty to the charge of murder, even as family relations, who often throng the court during sittings, express high hopes that a conviction will be secured at the end of the trial. Right? So that's the article. That's the accused whose face is being covered, right? And the late Victoria Dapper. So this is a Ghanaian story. I wonder if Trigger is familiar with this. With that said, should be topic number 2 says Black woman offed by police inspector. Let me start with Black Steel, I guess. Black Steel, what do you have to say about this story?
Well, I mean, it's very tragic. Rest in peace to the young woman who was murdered. I definitely want them to bring her killer to justice, and he needs to face the law that was committed in whatever where they're in what it sounds like Ghana, right? So yeah, he needs to face whatever punishment is necessary because that whatever this woman did, she deserves her life. But I also there's a stat about police officers in the U.S. about their domestic violence rate. So they said like 40% of police officers abusing their spouses, and that's a pretty common stat in the United States. I mean that. So apparently, it's not just an American thing that police are more likely to abuse and kill their partners. So it looks like it's very common. Um, Yes, over 40% of police officer families experience domestic violence, in contrast to 10% of families in general. So it's 4 times the rate. That's not an American thing. That's definitely worldwide. So, but yeah, I definitely hope that this woman gets justice. And did they catch the guy? I don't know if they caught him yet, but whatever this woman, whoever she was or whatever she did, she deserved her life. And whoever did this should be punished to the full extent of the law. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Yeah, I think they have him because he pleaded not guilty to it. So I do believe they have him. Buano, what say you to this?
Yeah, so this is an interesting scenario because when Ghana is relatively a very peaceful country, very, very peaceful country. So you don't normally see these kinds of acts of violence, in terms of Ghanaian society because it's a very stable economy and the people are relatively peaceful, even though I'm sure that they probably always had these acts of passionate crimes and violence towards each other. And peace to the sister. She like Black Steel said, no one deserves to lose their life over a relationship. You go your way, and the guy should go his way. But in regards to ended up trying to murder someone because the lady may have done something or said something that is beyond the boundaries, I just think that's crazy. But he's gonna get to experience what's it like to live to exist in an African jail, and that's not gonna be a fun scenario. I can promise you that. But no one deserves to lose their life, and I think that police officers, unfortunately, this is what's happening in the third world. Is police officers have to deal on a daily basis with the dregs of the human condition in terms of what they have to deal with on a daily basis, whether it's going at murder scenes, whether it's going on domestic abuse scenes, whether it's going and just different things where you encounter so many different things that is, it could really weigh on a regular human being after a long time. And there must be places where these people should be able to go and vent and express to their psychologists or psychiatrists the daily things that they see on a daily basis. It's not common to have to deal with murder. It's not common always have to deal with rape and incest and all the things that any so-called society, you would be exposed to in any kind of modern society. And I think that some police officers, especially in the third world, don't have that venue where they could sit in front of someone and get a psychological evaluation and counsel because these things weigh on police officers after a while. I don't know if police officers have that kind of forum in the United States, but definitely not in these places. A police officer will deal with all kind of things through the week and then go to church. That's his only outlet psychologically, and that's not sufficient. So unfortunately, they vent towards their significant others. They react. Towards people who are closest to them, and they get a bad name because of it. People in the community say, "Well, don't mess with no police officers. They off. They always drinking. They trying to cope," and it's not to justify what this man did because it's totally ridiculous and wrong. I just feel like there should be a venue or forum where These people need to sit in front of someone and talk to someone before they lash out against their significant other. But he's, like I say, he's gonna get the experience in having to exist in an African jail in a minute. But I'll leave it there.
Not only the experience of African jail, but as a former police officer, that's not going to be a fun ride either. In the chat, Lara says, got to be careful dating police. I agree. She says, I could never. R.I.P. that young lady. Unnecessary loss of life. Our boy D-Web from the Harsh Rowdy podcast is out there tonight. He says, peace, fam. Hoping to be home within the next week or two. We're dropping new episodes by March. Hope everyone has been doing well. Yeah, hopefully your recovery is coming along well, D-Web. Thanks for coming through. With that said, Oni, black woman off by police boyfriend. What are your thoughts?
Shit. So the story gets a little worse than I expected. So, that's a good looking picture. And Bit of Medicine was like, hey, I think Trigger might know her because she sounds famous. I'm like, okay, let me see if she got any movies or anything. Movies, real movies. Anyway, because I thought that's what you meant. Anyway, I didn't see, she's not famous. But they tell you why the dude confesses to why he killed her. And the reason is shocking. Okay? He killed her because she owed him 5,000 Ghanaian CDs. $400. $400 damn dollars. Now, I'm not going to say that police are, trigger happy, I guess. Police are trigger happy, or abusive all over the world. But because I don't think that American statistic really applies in Ghana per se. But what I would say is that who in the world, like, you supposed to, if you men gotta understand, like, black folk, when it comes to money, we are so behind. One thing I would give this brother props, although they're not the best props. I mean, the guy, advised me to go into crypto, and it was a good and also bad, but whatever. But one thing that the brother told me before I went was like, look, as long as you don't give more than you can afford to lose, as long as you don't put in more than you can afford to lose, that's one of the things. But that's the trouble with us as a people. I'm telling you, our spending habits are generally stupid. Because here you are, if you don't have 5,000 CDs, don't give away 5,000 CDs. That's one. Number two, stop asking your man for money. I'm talking to the women. Stop asking your man for money. Stop, like, y'all, like, oh my gosh, there's so much better. Because it's like, that's baby money. And again, I'm not rich, I don't want Barna giving me that big lecture again or nothing. But like $400 is not, for the other Americans, $400 ain't shit. Okay? Right? And I'm not saying that, Coco and Black still are Americans, but I'm just saying, but for the other Americans, $400 ain't shit. And it's definitely not, like, I know people who owe me way more than $400. I'm not going around killing these motherfuckers. It's a good idea. No, I'm joking. It's not a good idea. It's a terrible idea, right? But, because you thinking, because when I first read, I was like, oh, maybe she cheated on him, which is not a good reason, but it makes a little bit more damn sense. $400, and I mean, if you don't have the $400, don't give her the $400. They don't say how old he is. She's 26. She's fine. You can see, she, from what we can tell, she got a good body, right? And that's how, like I said, I met some women, they want you to be a trick, obviously, right? But I met some women, they, hey, could you give me some money for this? Can you give me some money for that? Yeah, man, look, when you give a woman money and she doesn't pay you back, take the fucking L. Because, the whole idea of, you're going to find it rough in prison, man, if you don't find it rough in prison. Because, see, if you was a piece of shit like that, where you killed a woman for $500 fucking $400 for $400, like, And he proud with it too. Like, man, she didn't pay me my $5,000. That's it. You know? And I mean, there's no amount of money that I think is worth a black woman's life, honestly. I'm not saying I would want a black woman to rob me and I wouldn't try to get the money back. You know what I'm saying? But you voluntarily give this woman money and she doesn't pay you back, just take the damn L. Stop being stupid with your money. And then I don't understand what's going on with this dude shot her with a fucking rifle. Like a big ass, long ass rifle, not even like a concealed carry. Like all of that shit is just and like the first story was like she got a phone call, and I don't know who Tycoon was, but I guess this guy goes by Tycoon. But she got a phone call and people were like, don't go out this middle of the night. And this dude walks up on her with a rifle, and then she's standing there to get shot 5 times, looks like 7 times. And then the autopsy just weird. 6 bullet entries, 7 exit wounds. How you got 7 exit wounds? How you got more exit wounds than entry? But anyway, unless the guy shot. Actually, I don't know how you do that. But well, you could, I guess, if you shot the same hole twice, I guess. But my point is that yeah, man, it's just like $500 is not the kind of money to go killing folk over. Now that I think about it, though, this woman did try to attack me for less. So, I mean, whatever. But still, like, I wouldn't do that. That's my saying. That's like...
Yeah, just to clarify, I didn't say she was famous. I said she was Ghanaian. And perhaps Trigger Happy was familiar with the story. In the chat, Trigger says, I wouldn't say Ghanaian economy is stable if you know what is going on right now with the leprechaun, LOL. I know Trigger doesn't like the leadership down there now. As for this case, gender relations aren't necessarily perfect. He says, now she's not famous. He says, for Ghanaian, probably a lot, meaning referring to the 400 US that Oni was saying. For Ghanaian, probably a lot, which kind of speaks to the poverty of the third world. Our sister Lero's out there. She says, I mean, I literally seen people get shot over a $50 bet on a dice game. Yes. We call that craps. Crop home. Lero says money or lack thereof really change a motherfucker. Not condoning that. However, does anyone else want to add some last thoughts to this prompt here before we move on?
Yeah. I briefly. Sometimes it's not about the money. Sometimes it's about the principle. and I justify it against and also only say $400. Only is looking at that situation and with American eyes. So I would only say to only multiply that, maybe say by 100, maybe by 10, or maybe by 100. Maybe what if a woman borrowed $40,000 from you? And would that make it better? You think about it.
No, I'm saying
I gotta say something too. Hold on, before we go, we gotta stop thinking Americans have money, man. We are broke over here, man. I'm sorry. The average American lives paycheck to paycheck and struggles to come up with $500 in an emergency. Stop, bro. You gotta stop letting people talk shit online and really go into the details. Most Americans are struggling right now. This inflation is kicking our asses. The average rent price is what? $1,700 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment in some cases. Used car prices $700 a month. Come on, man. Y'all got to stop listening to what people say online. Most Americans are struggling. $400 is a lot of money. I'm not saying it's enough to kill somebody, but if I was to lose $400,
it's enough to think about it.
If I had $400, I definitely be tight.
That's that problem.
I'm tight, man. I might not kill you, but I'm definitely gonna put some hands on you. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, putting hands is different from shooting somebody with a rifle.
I agree. But you know what? Again, like Lero said, people have been killed over $50 dice game. It's not about the money. It's about the mentality of the person holding the weapon. If somebody stole money from me, I wouldn't kill them because I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to be a murderer. I can always make that money back. But then you have some people who aren't afraid to crash out, as the kids say, who aren't afraid to crash out over $5. It is what it is. So it's not about the amount of money that was given. It could 5, 10, 500, 5,000. It's the mentality of the person behind that. He shot her with a rifle. I mean, he had to take aim. This woman was probably running away from him after he
She
shot her.
wasn't running. She was pleading.
Oh, she was pleading for her life. She thought he could be reasoned with. This is an unreasonable man. So to shoot a woman multiple times with a rifle over some money, it lets me know you're not a stable individual. It doesn't matter how much money he owed her. It's about this was a sick man that it needs to be locked up. I don't know if Ghana has a death penalty, but he definitely needs to do some the rest of his life in prison. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, let me address that. You know, if I gave a woman, if I was stupid enough, matter of fact, yeah, if I gave a woman 40K, like matter of fact, I'm not gonna say it's that much money, but if yeah, if you give a woman, if you dumb enough, not dumb enough, but if you do that, if you have it where you could just give away money like that, and if somebody runs away with it, take the damn L. That's it. Like, just take the damn L, because it's really like, take the fucking life lesson. You know, if I had $40,000, because here's the thing. If I gave away my last $40,000, I'm a fucking idiot. Okay? I'm a fucking idiot. Period. Like, this is not even his wife or nothing. This is just some woman he's banging, and he gave her, let's say, $40,000. Like you stupid. And if she says, "Hey, look at this fucking idiot gave me $40,000, I'm gonna walk away with it," like, yeah, take the fucking L, dude, because you're stupid. You got zero dick discipline. You know? Because if it really is that much money, don't give it away. You know, like, because even like with me, like, I'm not officially married to this woman. So, and I'm not saying I'm not going to say how much the house is, or is it? But like, yeah, if this woman says tomorrow, you know, fuck Oni, I'm going to take this house. Like, that's a possibility, right? I would just take the L. Because one, I didn't put all my damn money into the house, right? And two, you know, like I said, I'm not even mad. And like, even if I were married to her and she just said, you know, fuck you, I'm going to take I would still just be like, okay, have the house. Because it's not even worth it. Like I know people are like, hey man, money, blah, blah. But it's like, you can make that money back. The dude is a fucking police officer. Even if $40 out of his reach, it really isn't. You know, it really isn't. Now you're dead. Your life was forfeited, and you kill some woman for no damn reason. You know, for paper. For paper. You know, if I put in my book, colored tree waste. That's what it is. You know? You can't you killing somebody for that, and you could get it just like that. You're crazy.
But Oni.
Yeah, man.
And this is for all the panelists, really. You see, one of the things that irks me is the unevenness in how we discuss things sometimes. So while I fully understand what you're saying, hey asshole, if you're going to lend money, you should be willing to lose it if need be, etc. But what about the other side? What about the side of, hey, ma'am, and you kind of touched on this earlier when you first responded, but hey, ma'am, you ask this man, a police officer, a man with a legal weapon in his waist or possession or whatever, right? You ask a dude with a gun for monies, right, for a loan, and you decided to say fuck him and not address the fact that you owe him money. Where is the accountability there? It shouldn't always be the guy having to take that loss. I'm not condoning what he did. Of course I'm not. So let me just make that clear, because I'm sure there's someone out there who's willing to say, oh, Koku was out there condoning. No, I did not. I'm not condoning what he did. But where's the accountability of her actions? Because we should be able to loan our people, man and woman in between. We should be able to loan our people or help our people, right? And to accept each other's word that, okay, On the 15th, the next one, I'll have your money back in your hand, right? We should be able to do that if we're going to be communities and nations and whatnot. So where's the accountability there? I'll leave it for anyone to respond. I think Bono wanted to say something.
No, the victim is a male, and a black woman is above reproach. Therefore, we should feel no sympathy for this stupid black man who would have lent his love, a person who he loved and cared for, money, even though he may have been manipulated into doing that. And I ain't saying, because I don't know all the facts of the scenario, but I'm just saying that it's interesting when it comes to when men get deceived, because maybe he was deceived. Maybe he did do a stupid act, but maybe he didn't get his monies back that she borrowed from him. So now, because he is a victim, screw him, screw his feelings, screw his emotions. You know, she could get away with it because we don't anyways. But I'm just saying that I understand that why he would be upset. Does she deserve to die for $400? I don't think so. But like I say, I don't borrow certain money from people because I also believe in principle. Because I do know people get murdered for much less than $400, and it's not about the money sometimes, you know. But I don't know the facts of the scenario, but I don't think that he should have been victimized. And then if she don't pay him back, or you should have let her that anyways. Come on, brother. I mean, that's his woman.
Let me interject.
All right, go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'll be honest with you. All right. So let me say it this way. A lot of people owe me money right now. A lot of people, men and women. Most of the people who owe me money, the most amount of money, are men. Okay. I'm not sweating it because, you know, I do the too blessed to be stressed type mentality. You know what I mean? Like, I know money's coming. So I don't worry about it. But yeah, the reality is this, because I know so many people that owe me money. I'll be honest with you, a lot of people overestimate themselves. So they want to borrow money. Like one time this brother hit me up, let me borrow some money, I'll pay you back. You know, I got a high paying job, I'll pay you back within a month. I haven't seen that money in 3 years. You know, and sometimes I write the dude, I'll be like, hey man, you know about that? And he's like, yeah, I got you. I mean, I might not say I don't care. The idea, and it's more than $400, but you know, the idea that I should just go look for him and kill him. No, you know, I know the dude overestimated himself. I give him a pass and I take the L. And I'm not saying you take the L because you're the dude. A lot of people overestimate themselves. They overestimate their business abilities. They overestimate the economy. You understand? And I mean, that's okay. You know what I'm saying? Like dudes, like other dudes owe me money, big money. You know what I mean? Again, way more than fucking $400. You know what I'm saying? Way more than freaking $4,000. I'll be honest, right? You know, I'm not sweating it. I mean, I do tell them, hey, you know, blah blah. My point is this, you know, but are they trying to make something out of it? Yes. Now, does that mean that I could just say, hey, you know what? Time's up. You're dead now, and then I go to fucking prison for it? That's stupid. Like, the reality is that, I mean, even if you say the women are deceiving him, blah, blah, blah. I don't know her circumstance. We don't know her case. She might have, because a lot of people do deceive. A lot of people do believe, hey, you know what? I could flip this. And they can't flip it. You know? Like I told you guys about the business I invested. Like, for instance, I'll tell you about the farm I bought. After a while, like I invested so much money. After a while, the farm, there was a drought in Tanzania. Then later, just recently, you know, after the reseeding and all that stuff, there was a flood. So, and I know you're like, hey, that's the story. No, everybody knows in Tanzania it's a big flood. It was a big event, right? I get nothing from that investment. But fortunate for me, it wasn't all my damn money. Now, if I was starting to starve for it and I was that's different. But that's why I said, you know, you as an individual, like I said, the brother killing me to go into crypto, that wasn't that great idea. But him telling me don't give more than you can afford to lose, that's critical. So, you know, you're blaming the dude because you made a bad investment. And like I tell you guys, sometimes I tell people go read your Wealth of Nations. You know, because even in Wealth of Nations, the dude is telling you, hey, look, if you are investing money, look at the character of the person you're investing in. Okay? If the person you're investing in spends a lot of luxury goods, drinks all the time, smokes all the time, all that type of bullshit, if they're doing all that shit, don't lend the money. You know? That's the big lesson. I mean, again, I don't know.
I hear you on it. I agree with you. I definitely think, but again, right now we're just speculating. We don't know if that's the case with this poor woman. The thing I like to keep shit simple. You know, I like to narrow it down to the nearest common. We don't know if she borrowed the money, if she didn't have all the money, she only had a portion of the money, she needed more time to pay the money back. We don't know what's going on. But this man had many choices. He could have forgiven her. He could have given her more time to pay it. He could have just took the L, but instead he decided to kill her. So it's less about the money and more about the individual who made the choices. And yeah, again, we don't know if she stiffed him. And I mean, hey, if we get got, I know you mentioned something about women should ask men for money. Man, you have a snowball's chance in hell of that ever happening. Women gonna ask for money. If you ask her for them cheeks, she gonna ask for some money. I'm sorry. That's just how it goes.
He made an investment in her. He made an investment in her.
That's an investment. You invested in wallet. It is what it is. You shake over.
Y'all know what you get for Valentine's Day? Having pussy.
Can y'all hear me?
Oh, hey, how you doing, Bakari?
What's up? Look, I'm gonna tell you, I find this extremely problematic. Y'all let a black guy sit up here. Bowana literally found humor in his shit. He literally found humor in this. Hey, it's about the principle. Ain't no principle. You kill somebody over $400. Over $400. And we trying to figure out a way to say, well, the woman was responsible. Yeah, she owed him some money. Man, y'all be honest. Man, y'all got to stop that black man, black woman bullshit. I'm going to be honest. I hear a lot of black men, too. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say Bawana and a little bit of Koku this time. Sound like it's just got a problem with women. Bawana thought it was funny. Koku didn't laugh, but Koku said, well, where's her responsibility? I don't know. I don't know the whole story. But just say that dude was a damn asshole. He killed that woman for $400. But we got to figure out dude. I'm just being honest, man. That's just crazy. It just sounds weak to me.
Second comma.
Bawana laughed. And won't nobody check that. That's why I tell people I'm alone and I don't do this no more. He laughed at me.
Second comma.
He laughed.
Second comma. I apologize for laughing.
Don't apologize, man. Be who you are. I'm just gonna call that weak shit out. Pardon my French, because I'm trying to quit cussing.
No, I can accept.
I'm just gonna call it out, and and I understand people don't think like me, but that's just weak. You can find humor in that black woman being killed for $400. It's principle.
I don't think he found humor in the woman being killed, though, Bakari. I don't think he found humor in that being killed. But that's not what he was laughing at. I think he was laughing at the very idea.
You go fly over the top of this topic here. I know you was. Second comma. I was not laughing at the fact that the sister was killed. I was laughing when I say the principle of a thing. I know that's a common thing that people talk about. I wasn't laughing. First of all, the first thing I said, if you listen to what I say, listen to the playback. I say, I'm sorry.
I heard everything you said. And I ain't cut nobody off. I let everybody go around and talk when I was up here. And y'all want to come because you want to defend yourself. But I'm going to cut down, I'm going to cut you back off. I heard everything that you said. You said maybe, but it's the principle. it's the principle, though.
Yeah, I just said
that. Funny.
No, but
that ain't funny.
But you didn't hear me. But you didn't also hear me say that no one should lose their life over no money. And this is
but once you laugh and say it's the once you laugh and say it's the principle, then you come back and say that. That's like trying to clean up the laugh, dude. I heard everything. So you come back and say that. So you trying to clean up the laugh, bro.
Brother Bakari, that's not how the conversation going. Listen to what I said again. Initially, I say no one should lose their life over no money. That's the first thing I say. I say that he'll get the experience of living in an African jail. That's the second thing I say. And then the third thing I said, what probably was out of taste, that I said was, oh, it's the principle of that. But I was not referring to the sister dying. I was not referring to that. And I know you spin this a little bit, just a little bit, which is fine. But maybe maybe the statement was out of taste. The sister did not deserve to lose her life. But I am not attacking her. What I am doing is saying that, hey, I was responding to what Oni said. Oni said, Oni is almost making it seem as if, oh, he's a male, he's a victim. He was stupid and lending her money anyways. So let's wipe our feet on his face. And I felt like that was an unfair thing to say. And I am making it a male and a female issue because it seems like the female, once again, she can get away with anything. She's above reproach. You can't question her actions.
Yeah, she was killed.
But but I'm saying, listen, his actions was poor and in poor taste. But I'm going beyond that discussion. The discussion is women are above reproach in their actions, and men who are victimized by some women, we should just forget about them. They're stupid for doing it anyway. That's our feet on his face.
Wait, hold on a second.
I think that's a fair analysis. I do.
Let me jump after Barna, okay? All right. Let me say this, matter of fact. One time I was I was in Tanzania, some thick piece of work. Met her on the bus stop, got a number, whatever. She started begging me for money to like send her sister to school or some shit. And she's like, I'll do whatever you want if you give me this money. And I'm like, all right, bet. Right now, allegedly, I might have, said the wrong thing, but basically, after she got the money, she kind of like blocked me, right? I didn't like that, and it wasn't a lot of money. It was like, I want to say it was like, because she wanted to send her sister to school. And like real talk, she really did use the money to put her sister in school. But of course, I don't really care about her sister going to school. So, or maybe even her nephew. I don't give a shit. I didn't really care. I was just like, shit, this woman looked nice. All right. So anyway, what did I do? I took her to court. And the thing is that you live in a society where if somebody does you a wrong in a civil situation, right? You could take them to civil court, and if it's really that serious, you might have to pay the judge a little bit of money. You might have to pay the lawyer a little bit of money, right? But if it's really that serious, take them to court, drag their ass to whatever, right? And you can get your money back, or you could even put them in fucking jail for it.
Let me jump in here. No, hold on. Let me jump in because I really don't appreciate what Bakari did there. From the jump, I said this was wrongdoings, right, on this man's part. But like Buana said just now in his clarification speech, is we got to be real about the world too. Not every dude is going to go to court. Some motherfuckers are out here crazy enough to take your life for $5. And so therefore, you, man, woman, child in between, you have to be mindful of that. You got to be mindful that one of the number one things you don't fuck with is a man's money. You have to be mindful of that. I don't care who you are. And y'all hate to hear when someone gives advice to a woman to say, hey, you better be mindful. You know what men do? Men destroy shit. Men kills things. If you ain't looking sharp, a man will take you sexually. So you have to prepare yourself. You have to move in a way that a motherfucker can't violate you. I'm not blaming the victim here. I'm saying, though, you borrowed this money, and as Trigger said, that money is a good amount of money in Ghana, right? You play, and this is a guy walking around, a police walking around with a gun or guns, All I'm saying, and by the way, Bakari fell off. I didn't drop him off. He fell off. I guess he had internet issues, right? I'm not saying that the guy was right. Who would see the story and think the guy is right? But all this talk about you take him to court, yo, dude, some dudes don't do that shit. In Nassau the other day, I was reading the paper. A man and his woman was at a red light. 3 dudes hopped out of the car and lit the 2 of them up. Some people ain't going through that court shit and all that stuff y'all talking about. This is the real world we dealing with. I, as a big man myself, I am very careful how I deal with people, how I mess with their property, this, that, and the other. That's all I'm saying. And y'all got to stop this shit where when you're trying to give advice is a part of protection too. Thank you, Lero, for the facts. Advice is a part of protection too. I'm not giving this woman wrong because she died over some money. Shit, I wish I had known so I could have given the dude the $400 to spare her life. But at the same time, ma'am, women, ladies, be careful how you deal with men. It's just the real world. You have to be careful how you deal. I'm sure if I ask these same men on the panel here tonight, are you careful how you deal with other men? I bet you everyone will say yeah. You got to be careful. It's just the world we live in.
I don't know. Again, I think we're adding on to the story because I guess we
I
don't
feel
know.
like that.
We are speculating again. We don't know
Because they
if
seem like lovers. I'll say that.
it seemed like they were lovers. Maybe she went to break up with him. He like says, "You breaking up with me? Give me my money back, bitch." And she's like, "What you mean?" But you know, who we don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But the only thing I would say in this story is just that, again, it's not about the money. But to your point, Koku, you're right. We do have people will kill you. People will kill you, and I think many times, because as men, we're meant to protect. Men protect women. You know, the women are lives, women around us. We look out for them. But there are some men who have no hesitation in putting you in your grave.
They don't care.
They don't care. They don't care if you got kids. They don't care if you have a mother who's going to miss you. If you have a son who's going to grow up without you, they don't care. So women going to ask for money. If they're dealing with a man, they're going to ask for money. I don't know. I've had women ask me for money on the first fucking date. So, and we haven't even slept together. I've had women that, you know, we've been doing nasty things to each other. She asked for a couple dollars. I don't mind. She paid me 9 times out of 10. I'm not going to get it back. It is what it is. You know, I'm not tripping over that. But what I'm tripping over is that his reaction to something as small as money. This woman deserves her life. I don't know what type of penalties they have in Ghana. I don't know if it's death penalty. I don't know, whatever it is. But he needs to suffer the rest of his life for what he did to this woman. Let's move on. It's getting late, man. We can have some other topics.
I'll just say this just quickly. Let me say this quickly. I think, obviously, I think general advice for women, you know, to be careful around some men. But I think when it comes to, you know, your lover, you know, like that advice is not like, you know, it's not really like it's like if you shouldn't really be loving on somebody who will kill you for $400, you know? And I feel like I feel like there's no way to advise somebody that your lover, like the guy you're having sex with, you know, unprotected sex or whatever, is going to kill you over money. You know, because I mean, there are dudes that do that, but obviously I think you shouldn't associate with that. I don't know if this guy showed signs of that, you know? I don't know if that's why maybe they broke up. It seems like maybe they broke up. But see, my thing is this. It sounds like he called her on the phone in the middle of the night and she came out to see him in the middle of the night. So it's just like, I don't know if their relationship was even that bad. Like, it just doesn't, like, again, I can't tell. Like, it's so hard. So it's like, I understand the desire to like advise somebody, but when it comes to like your lover, it's like a whole different story, because technically if you are, you know, making love to somebody, there should be some degree of trust. There should be some degree of you know, there should be something beyond, oh yeah, you know, this dude is a killing machine. You know, like, yeah, absolutely. Can I, strangle somebody? But does that mean that, um, like if I strangle my woman, you know, because I can and because that's what guys do, and like the advice for her would be, hey man, act correct, or otherwise Oni's gonna strangle you. It's like we're not even trying to get good relationships. You know what I mean? Like I mean, obviously, I don't think a woman should try to test me, and I don't think she's trying. I don't think that's the case. It seems like she borrowed money and she couldn't pay it back on time, or maybe we don't know. Maybe she borrowed money and they broke up, and yeah, and he was just like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna kill her. You know, I don't know, but like I don't really like I don't know if this is one of those teachable moments. I feel like this is like he's essentially a dick. He's a dick,
We
and
established that already. We
yeah,
established he's
but I feel like there's no teachable moment for this dude being a dick. Because like really, I would say a woman, like I mean, it's not really evident that he was a dick before this. We just know that we just know he's a dick for doing this. Because it seems like he loaned her $5,000. You know what I mean? $400. So it's like I don't know how much of a dick he was to give her $400. You know what I'm saying? That's what I mean.
Okay, so I want to just make a statement to be very clear. Okay, so this is Pan African Men's Fellowship. Okay, so everyone has a right to come on and check one another, but I also have a right to defend myself. If I would have said something that it was a seemingly like I was laughing at the murder or mistreatment of his sister, I apologize for that. It was out of character and out of taste. However, let me just make this clarification. If you go to the woman that I date, not only the woman that I date, in my personal life, if you go to her mother, if you go to her sisters, and my encounters with them, just ask them in terms of how I treat them and how they see me. Beyond that, all of the women in my life, my mothers, my sisters, etc., etc., etc. Beyond that, in terms of my career, in terms of the women in my community, just ask them what they think in terms of how I treat and think about Black women actively on a daily basis. Now, if you hear something on social media that is out of taste in my active life, I'm saying come to Nassau and just ask these people who are connected to me, the females connected to me, what they think about Bowana in terms of my treatment and respect towards them. This is on the brother Bakari say, go on the streets. In a real world, ask these people and let their answer you in terms of how I look at and view women. I would just leave it there.
appreciate that, boy. Man, you guys had to make sure to breathe. Not you guys on the public. Some of y'all started to make sure to breathe. Sure to come and do now, man. God damn. Shoot the breeze topic number 3 tonight is the forgotten children from the war in the Congo. What must be done? This came with a link that's taking us to YouTube to watch the video, and then we will discuss it. It looks like a short.
They want our gold, our couple, our cold bonds, our cold time, our music, our Nomium, our D'Artagnan, our flesh, water, our timber, our iron, our diamonds, our fish, our uranium, our tin, our cosmic. They want us for free. So they were taking and killing people, innocent people for it. Lion, children, what and me. But what did you do? What did I do? What do I do? What did I do? What did I do? Since 1994, they are over 6 million. Those are people dead in the Democratic Republic of Congo because of them. It's time to find out who they are. They want our gold, our couple, our cold bonds, our cold time, our music, our Nomium, our D'Artagnan, our flesh, water, our timber, our iron, our diamonds, our fish, our uranium, our tin, our cosmic. and their wonderful food. So they were taking and killing innocent people for lion, children, why me? But what did you do? What did I do? What do I do? What did I do? What did I do? Since 1994, they are over 6 million. Those are people dead in the Democratic Republic of Congo because of them. It's time to find out who they are.
All right, I played that twice to make sure that we got the idea. You know, these children are basically pleading for their homeland and for themselves, because that's the thing with war and stuff, man. Children really get harmed in that stuff, man. And we shouldn't take that lightly, that we have African children in the Congo right now who are facing difficult difficulties during this time. And I think those of us who are outside of that situation, we need to look into how we can help, either from afar or if you can go there and help. But we need to figure out a way to help. I'll say that much. And what I said was, some of y'all are making Shoot the Breeze difficult to come and do every week. That's what I said. So Shoot the Breeze topic number 3 says, the forgotten children from the war in the Congo, what must be done? So this is a topic I'd really like to hear some solutions, not just from the panelists, but from those in the chat. I agree with Black Steel. That messed me up too. You know, that's children who, once the adults fall, what happens with the children? You know. Let me start with Black Steel. Black Steel, what are your thoughts in general, and what do you think can be done to help?
So this is such a tragic thing to see. It's wow. It's a heavy situation, and I think we understand what's going on in the Congo is a result of the Congo having these resources, having the minerals that are necessary for the modern world to survive. In order for us to have the cell phones, the computers, the gaming systems, they need these materials, but they don't want to pay African people fair price for their materials. So they purposely destabilize the country. They cause these wars. And this child, he said 6 million people have died in the Congo. That's the most number of deaths in any conflict since the Second World War. Not Gaza, not Ukraine, the Congo. But you don't hear anything about it. These children are forgotten just so that some white woman, somebody in the United States, you have the newest iPhone every year, or when the new PlayStation comes out, they can have enough controllers, and these children are being murdered. And what makes me even angrier is that the military that are doing this are other African nations. It's the people from Rwanda, from Burundi, from Uganda, that are doing this to other Africans. White power in Africa has always been done through Black military. It's been Black people in the armies that are oppressing the people. They'll hire other Black people to use them to destabilize other African nations, so that way they can get a few more trinkets. They can get a little bit better deal from the white man. That's the part that makes me madder than anything. If it was the French doing it, if it was the Belgians or the British, we could, hey, we could obviously see what these crackers are doing. But these crackers, they know, hey, we can turn these niggas against each other. Let's just pay this one a little bit more, and they'll kill their own children. They'll kill their own children. So, to me, it's frustrating to see these children struggle, because I think most of us on here are parents or fathers. That could easily have been my son. Just for an accident of my ancestors being kidnapped and brought to America, that could have been me. That could have been us over there going through these situations. So, what I think needs to be done, I really think Pan Africanism is truly the only way. But we really need a change in our consciousness. But it's Pan Africanism over everything. Because at this point, that's really all we have is Pan Africanism. If we don't organize to unite our people, then this is going to continue. We need to have political power, organization, and that way we can punish the traitors in our midst. I think one of our problems is that we don't really have a mechanism or a system in place to punish our traitors. These people can betray our people. They can kill our people. They can make our children orphans. And what can we do to do against these people until we organize? Until we really embrace Pan Africanism. I know people think it's a long shot, but I think that Africa has more cultural unity than any other place on earth. And because we have a shared struggle, I think that is our true solution to these problems. Organization, Pan-Africanism, systems and mechanisms in place to sanction and punish our traitors. So that way, if you do something, if you join a military that drives poor farmers off their land, you just know you're not going to have too many days left on this earth. And I don't know why I'm so happy to see what Mali and Burkina Faso and Niger are doing, and they're leaving ECOWAS. I think that's a good thing because that shows we can break away from this European led system and form our own system, and from that we can use it to protect our people because they were saying we have these French troops in Niger to protect us from Al Qaeda or whatever, Al Shabaab or whatever, and we're still losing people. What was the point? So that's why I'm glad they broke away from ECOWAS, and I think the African Union is next because what's the point? If all you're doing is just uh, um, you're just putting a black face on white power. Neo-colonialism is real shit. Let's get it together for black people organized because the ones who love our people, we don't want to see this happen anymore. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. I'll go ahead and let the next poster have it. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought rambling and all is good stuff. I also want to add too, I hope that they're teaching the children who they are. That anonymous they, I think that's a big problem we have too. The anonymous they. They are coming to take this and that and do this and that. I hope that they're telling them exactly who the enemy is. Super important. Juan, what say you?
Yeah, the first thing I would ask is, what is the men of the Congo doing in terms of the defense of their country and the children and their country? I don't want um to go over them and like I get all the answers from all the way over here, and they don't have any answers. I don't want to subvert their authority. So I want to know who these people are in their society in terms of fighting back to ensure that these children are not being harmed, mistreated, molested. Because the Congo is a big place, not only but in terms of war, but human trafficking. A lot of Europeans go to these places to get black children to import them back into the Western countries to do all manner of things, especially sex trafficking. People don't like talk about that. But I really would like to know what the men of the Congo are doing to defend against this. I really would like to know that because see, they used to in Europe, in Ireland, they used to have this group called the IRA. They was trying to fight for the independence against the British, and the IRA used to go all around the world soliciting finances and support in trying to break away from the British, and they were trying to get money from all the Irish people from all around the world. So they would import them to buy guns to go back to fight against the British. But unfortunately, in these scenarios, the revolutionaries are not known. You don't know who the revolutionaries are. You don't know who the main actors are in terms of who are fighting to stop these things happening. Because I would support them. I would support them if I could, financially or whatever have you. I would try to support them. In terms of Haiti, Haiti is my fight, because Haiti is so close to me. I want to be able to know who the revolutionaries are on the ground, and try to figure out what the needs are in terms of the people on the ground. What do they need in terms of defense? What do they need in terms of care, support, welfare, and all these other things? These people need to make themselves known to the global world, so the global world will come to their rescue. Everybody is seeing what's going on in Palestine and Israel right now, but the revolutionaries have made themselves very clear. If you want to fight against the Israelis, you have to go to appeal to Hamas leadership. You have to go to the Hamas people. They are the democratically elected people in terms of fighting for the Palestinians. So if you want to forward your support and defense, these people have made themselves known. I don't know who the revolutionaries are in the Congo to even help and assist and aid. So what are these people doing actively to make themselves known, going around the world and say, hey, we need your help and support over here. We going back to the Congo. These multinational corporations are sending their paramilitary groups inside these areas, and it's suppressing our people. We need help over here, and here's what you could do. Here's what you could do to assist us. I don't see these kinds of things. I don't see these kinds of now the children are talking. You can't support the children. Where you can send the money to? Where you can send the support to? Where you can send the books to? Where you can send the infrastructure to? It just becomes a big question mark. And I think it will be more helpful. See, Kemi Seba is one voice. He's one voice speaking for a whole francophone colonial, all the francophone countries in Africa. One big voice. So if you support his organization, maybe it will hit the people who actually need it. But you need more voices. You need to hear from more voices, more male or females in these areas, and saying, hey, we need your help and support, and this is why. This is why. And these are the things we actively need. Then you would see more support from around the world. People do want to help, but they just don't want to send it to what? Um, Doctors Without Borders and shit like that, or these United Nations, where where the people on the ground will never see the money is reaching the people who actively need it. So I think that's what the biggest issue is in terms of what's going on in these areas. But I'll leave it. I'll leave it there.
Before Oni goes, I want to say so this particular group here is called the Friends of the Congo, and they've been very vocal. But we got to be honest, man. African people do not control the media apparatus. They don't control it. We don't have ownership of it. Yes, the internet makes things a little bit more, you can get more stuff out because the internet, but even if you get it out, here's the problem. It's happening to Black people. The rest of the wider world doesn't care. They don't care about the Palestine. I got this as an American. Most Americans don't give a shit about what's going on in Palestine right now. I'm sorry, most white Americans don't. I think more Black people care. But outside the leftist radical white people, most Americans, those of these crackers out here that love God and love Jesus, they think this is all a part of biblical prophecy. They don't care. So if they don't care about that, they're not going to really care about Black people, what we're going through. I think we have to we have to be so loud and support those people who are already speaking out, because there are people who are speaking out. Support those who are already speaking out. Bring awareness to this. And again, Pan-Africanism has to be the way, because we cannot expect white people to care about we can't expect the rest of the world to care more about our conditions than we do. We really can't. I think, and if we're going to take anything away from Palestine, I think it was Hamas who made this shit to be internationally known the way it is. Because what was happening is that Israel was looking to normalize relations with Saudi Arabia, because currently they don't have a trade relation or whatnot. They don't have a relation with Saudi Arabia. So Israel was speaking with the king of Saudi Arabia, trying to squash things and come up with a trade agreement. And Hamas was like, nah, we're not doing this. So that's when they decided to attack on October 7th. But and when with the Congo, Who's the enemy? We know that multinational corporations are funding these armies, but who's the big bad to go after? I think that's another thing. We don't know which military, who is the enemy. We just know these people are attacking these people, and they're making these children homeless and destabilizing the area. But I think we need more information. But there's definitely people on the ground, people who are making this aware. They just don't. We just need to amplify their voices, I should say.
Yeah, but what I would say to that is for the Congolese that in terms of in the American media, not the British media, I'm sure they're Congolese. In fact, I think that Ludacris, the rapper, I think his wife is a Congolese person. I'm not sure. Now, I ain't 100% sure about that. But I'm saying that you appeal to people who have a degree of notoriety to get that message out there. When there when there was an earthquake in Haiti, the reason why many people look at Wyclef Jean. Now people say Wyclef Jean, this and that, whatever. But he had an agency called Yele. Many people were supporting Yele until a lot of ramblings was going on in terms of the money. But people were sending money to that organization because it had an identifiable leadership. He was well known in the American public, and Wyclef was selling the idea like, listen, if you want the monies to reach the people on the ground in Haiti, here's what you do. Here's what you do. So many people was funneling their money through our Yale organization. I don't see well, I'm sure they have very popular Congolese in the Americas or people who have access to people who have notoriety to make this a significant kind of message in terms of what's going on in American public minds. You need to have an identifiable person who have an identifiable organization where it would reach the people on the ground in Haiti. And I'm not saying that because Americans are ready to dig into their pockets and they're very helpful around the world in terms like that. But I'm just saying that you need notable people in every society where there are Congolese people who you could reach them and say, well, listen, this is my message. This is what I need to get out here. Help and support this agency. I don't know where to send the money to. Neither do you. You say that there are people on the ground who you did mention the name of the organization, but most people ain't even gonna dig that deep. Most people, like you say, most people. But if it's in the mouth of if it's in the mouth of Idris Elba, hey, this is my organization. This is what I support. This is what we do here. You need to send your money here so the children of the Congo could get this kind of money. He's an African person, but he ain't Congolese. But I'm sure if he was to hear something like this and get that message out there, funds and help would be directed to whoever organization that he suggested the funds and the help and assistance should go to. That I believe that is a possible thing in terms of solutions. But I'll leave it. I'll leave it.
Yeah, I'm not certain it's about a celebrity thing. I think it's an imagery thing. I think people need to see what's happening and see the trouble that's going on, uncensored type stuff. We need to be transmitting those messages from there worldwide. I think that's really more important because, listen, man, Sally Struthers was a big time actress back in the day, and she was out here getting fat off of donations to Ethiopia and all that kind. I don't think it's a celebrity thing. I think it's number one, folks. I think a lot of folks just don't know about what's really happening. They might see a hashtag or a little video like this one here of the kids speaking, but I think folks need that real reporting, that real news and images of what's going on out there. But only what say you to all of it?
So yeah, I want to say this. Friends of the Congo, they've been at it for over a decade. Okay. And that's good. That's good. I first saw them, like the first time I heard about Pan-Africanism was from a brother. I used to go to school in the Midwest. Brother came from Friends in the Congo and gave a presentation to pretty much an all-white school, about the genocide in the Congo. He followed up from, like, I don't even think we were there for that. Like, I think we were listening to some woman talking about sex trafficking in the Midwest. And then he showed up and he was like, look, this was happening in the Congo, big genocide, all that kind of stuff. And then, I spoke to him later. I was like, what's Pan-Africanism? Never heard of it, right? And he told me, yeah, read your Frantz Fanon, read your Kwame Nkrumah. I don't think the problem, but again, I heard what Barnum was saying, but I think that really comes back to the reality that a lot of people want to get to the same destination, but they're using a different roadmap, and maybe you don't agree with somebody's roadmap, but they want to get to the same destination, right? This guy, or I don't know if it's not one guy, but the people in this organization are very, very, very serious about ending the genocide of their brothers and sisters. How they do it, what they advocate for, how they advocate for it, because like I said, going to some obscure, university event might not be the way, because Bond is like, hey, why don't you contact a high-powered celebrity, pay them, millions of dollars to whatever. I don't know, I could say, it was effective at reaching me, I guess, but who am I? Who am I to Wycliffe Jean, obviously? Although now I'm the hymn of Pan-Africanism, so it wasn't a bad idea. No, I'm joking. All right, but what I'm saying is that, yeah, like the race is not, but we have to also get realistic. The surface area of the DRC. Before I heard that it was the thing, I was preparing to speak about, the question. Before I heard that it was, Friends of the Congo, because like I said, those are the guys who told me about Pan-Africanism. Right? I didn't hear about that until I got to university, right? Which is, telling, but that's the reality of, when we talk about propaganda. And I want to say this, I listened to the speech by, the conversation between Putin and Tucker Carlson, and Putin says something that I think a lot of us need to hear. I put it on Twitter. I'm going to try to find the quote. But while I'm looking for the quote, what I'm going to say is this. The Congo has a surface area of 905,000 square miles. Okay? That's 3 times the size of Texas, right? I think that's one of America's bigger states, right? And it's also, like you can say, 1/3 the size of the United States, right? To control that large of a territory without without real leadership is troubling. Like from a real standpoint, it doesn't even make sense how the Congo would have been stable. Okay, especially given its history. One of the things that people forget, when you talk about, the Japanese were colonized, and you talk about, the Congolese were colonized, right? When the Japanese were liberated, I don't know the percent, but let's just pretend 13% of them had an engineering or science background. Okay? When the Congo was liberated, there was only one college graduate in a third of the landmass of the United States. One college graduate. It's very, very, very difficult to see. Like we have to be realistic, and we have to say to ourselves, if we're really asking the question, how do we beat these fucking people, doing wrong in the Congo? It would be very, very difficult given the metrics. Now I found the Putin quote. So he says, in the war of propaganda. So this is to the propaganda question. He says, in the war of propaganda, because Tucker Carlson asked Putin. He says, if you know that America bombed Nord Pipeline, why don't you just present the evidence? And then everybody in the world could be like, oh, wow, look, you guys didn't do it, and America did it, right? And so Putin laughs at him because he's like, how naive you got to be. And he says, in the war of propaganda, it's very difficult to defeat the United States because the United States control all the world media and many European media. The ultimate beneficiaries of the biggest European media are American finance. Now, obviously, I would say this is a little bit of probably a bad translation, but probably what he was saying was, look, a lot of global media is controlled by the United States. And if you ask yourself, well, who the fuck wants resources out of the Congo? All right, and then you gotta say the Congo's full name, uranium rich Congo. Right? Who wants all the resources out of uranium rich Congo? It's the United States. So if you want to go to a media war and use American celebrities and American, it's like, come on. Like, come on. And so, the Congo has a, like I said, it's super rich in resources, but then it also is huge. And then you have like probably this one little government. And honestly, everybody and their mother is saying to themselves, looking at this government saying, I could take them. I could take them. A third the size of the United States of America. How? It's actually mind-boggling. Now, again, I'm quote unquote Pan-Africanist, so of course I love the fact that there's a huge country in Africa, obviously. But when you start talking about, well, if we're really serious, we gotta start. We need to we needed leaders that were trained to be leaders. Not just any black person could roll out of bed and command 905,000 square miles. Even if you were to say to me, Oni, look, I got 905,000 square miles and 90 million people. That's the population of Congo. 90 million people govern us. I would be like, wait, hold on a second. You know what I'm saying? and I mean, I if there are qualified men, yeah, there's probably a whole bunch of qualified men. What I'm saying is that maybe I might rank among, I don't know, top 20%. I don't know, right? The point is this, though. If I think that that's a difficult ass job, 90 million people, 905,000 square miles, right? 2.3 million square kilometers, right? If I think that's a difficult job, how is it that we expect a population of 90 million and people killing off their leaders? They kill them all, but they foreigners wrote their constitution. The Belgians are up in there. The Americans are up in there. The Chinese are up in there. Everybody wants uranium. Okay, the Israelis are up there. The South Africans are up there. Everybody wants uranium. Einstein, one of the world-renowned physicists. Einstein wrote the president, I think like Dwight Eisenhower, I don't know, but he wrote the president of the time, hey man, get control of the fucking Congo. It has a lot of uranium. You could use it to make bombs. You could use it to produce clean energy, the best energy source on the planet. And the Congo doesn't just have that. The Congo has, like I was telling a brother today, the Congo has the Inga Dam. Right? The brother was telling us 10 years ago, hey, the Europeans were building the Inga Dam, the Grand Inga. If you guys look up the Grand Inga, it was able to produce enough energy to power the whole of Europe, a waterfall, sitting up in the Congo. And they were willing to build up this water plant, this hydroelectric plant, in order to power Europe. And I was like, what the fuck? Everybody was like, ew, how could you? But they were willing to do it. And it's a damn good structure. The point is that the Congo really needs to get its shit together. The Congo, Kwame Nkrumah wrote a whole book on it, The Challenge of the Congo. And he's like, look, if the Congo gets its act together, African people are good. And the thing is this, why the fuck would Kwame Nkrumah write that? Because everybody in the world, the white folk are like, oh, hold on a second. You mean to hold black folk back? All I got to do is hold back the Congo? That's it? And it's true. The heart of Africa, uranium, the hydroelectric, you can build that power plant. And I'm telling you, 50% of Africa's electric needs, good. And of course, like I said, uranium, nuclear, you don't have to worry about nuclear bombs. Nuclear energy is considered one of the cleaner, one of the better options for modern existence. So you could be an energy exporter if you got the Congo together. But you got to say to yourself, black people have to say to themselves, wait a second, you have 905,000 square kilometers. 2.3 million square kilometers we have to really say to ourselves, let's get together. Because that's the whole reason why I even came to Pan-Africanism. You look at my earliest articles, you look at the first person I followed on Twitter. Only person I followed back then was the Friends of the Congo, right? But you look at, my earliest articles, it's really Pan-Africanism. You talk about Pan-Africanism, seriously. You got to say to yourself, how can we get this shit on the wraps? But you also got to be serious. Not just anybody can do this. And what you have now is a state of anarchy. What you have now is a weak government. And you're going to have that until we as African people get serious about studying how to be, how to have good government, obviously, but also implement, getting the people who can be good governors into place and not setting them up. Because I'll tell y'all this, I'll finish with this. Kwame Nkrumah, like I like Kwame Nkrumah. I think what Kwame Nkrumah would have done in Ghana would have been amazing. But he gave Lumumba terrible advice. Lumumba won the election, right? And Kwame Nkrumah told him, "Look, in the Constitution, what about you guys having the Constitution that the president, that the guy who lost the election, gets to be the president?" And Lumumba took the prime minister position, and the other guy took the president position. The president had the power. You should like the naivete to surrender the power to the other motherfucker. Right? I think that set black folk up. I think Kwame Nkrumah's heart was in the right place, obviously. And like I said, everybody has different strategies. Everybody wants to go different places. I mean, everybody wants to go to the same place. But Patrice Lumumba was killed for that decision. You understand? And I mean, this is two men, so I can't say I'm blaming no men. but Patrice Lumumba was killed for that situation. And that's it. We cannot. We have to be like, I don't like, as far as what we could do right now, we can't do jack shit because like what we could do for these kids, we can't do jack shit because what that country needs is really damn good government. And a lot of black folk, a lot of black spaces ain't talking about government. Now, am I going to write about governance in my next book? Absolutely. But is my next book going to be fucking, come on. Like, come on. So I don't know. Because I'll tell you, like, again, if it, we playing around. Governing 90 million people, 2.3 million square kilometers, that's insane. That's bigger than the entire Caribbean. Like I said, it's bigger than 3 Texas. You think you could govern that? Come on. That's it.
I appreciate that. Only Erzulism actually says that a lot too. It's the government that's doing that to the people down there. What are you going to do about it when the government is doing it to their people? In the chat, Trigabi262 says it should also be understood that Palestine and its conflicts is where major religious centers is at. This is why Africans have to work on that theology aspect because it plays a role in identity. Erzulism says, read The Killer of the Flower Moon. Same people in the Congo. So I didn't understand this I didn't understand this post by Erzulism, but he cleared it up in a second. He says, read The Killer of the Flower Moon. Same people in Congo. You can't appeal to their sense of humanity. So later he says, a man married his wife, a Native American. He proceeds to kill his wife, her mother, the children they have together to get their head rights and the oil money. So I understand now what he's trying to say. It's the same white folks in the Congo. You can't appeal to their humanity. Trigger Happy says, if we're talking solutions, only way you can really do anything is other African states have to be militarily involved. The Congo is like a vital point to Africa, like a human body. Some have called the Congo the heart of the continent. He says you literally can't do anything unless other African states are willing to fight for the region on a coalition basis. Last time I heard, I believe I believe there was this guy from Kenya who was bragging about how Kenya is about to take over the Congo as well. You guys know the guy I'm talking about too. He used to be on Pan Africanism Strikes Back sometime, and he used to be on Tanzan show sometime. I forget the guy's name now, but he was bragging about that one time ago. Black Seal had to drop off. Hopefully he'll return later. So if anyone else wants to join the panel, click the link pinned to the top of the chat. Come on and join us and have a discussion. Yes, sir.
Yeah, if the I put it to the man again. If the man of the Congo,
Buana, your volume is really low. Can you increase your volume?
Yeah, can you hear me now? 1 2 1 2.
I can hear you, but it's still a little low.
Hold on for a second. Can you hear me? 1 2 1 2.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, so if the man of the Congo, I put it to the man of the Congo to become more active in terms of doing something, man. I understand the governments and see the Western powers, they create chaotic situations intentionally because they benefit from the chaos. When you have a chaotic government or when you have a chaotic governance, that means that you could go and appeal to any members of the society and get the natural resources very cheaply because they're organized. So one military leader say, well, you want these gold, you want these diamonds, whatever, we could charge you this because he can personally benefit from it. And the corporation's going to just deal with him. It's this nonchalant kind of government. But if you say we together say that we setting the terms of the prices of the natural resources in this country and we ain't going to diverge from it, then you won't necessarily benefit from the chaos of that. So Western governments know these things. So they try to create chaotic situations. And they understand that, hey, if I these groups of people who don't like the interim government, and if I arm these groups of people, then I'm gonna get an instant chaos happening in the community and the society. So what they do after creating that scenario is they go in. They say, well, we need these group of diamonds, we need this oil over here, we need this uranium, we need to get these. They're benefiting from the chaos. This is what they do. So we need to have organized governments, strong men. I'm a great believer in strong men. I know people don't like that. And for all the horrible things that Mobutu did in terms of the Congo and the kleptocracy that he did, he was a strong man. He was a strong man, and the United States had to go to him specifically, not a bunch of other different kinds of people. So I really do believe that this is really what they need in the Congo. But I just think that the men of the Congo need to stand up and say no more. They need to stand up and say no more. You can't just. They need to stand up and say no more. I don't want to resolve all Africa's problems. That's not the onus is not on me to do that. Even though I'm a Pan-African, there are many Pan-Africans in Africa. There are many intellectual people in Africa. So when I see these kinds of things, I'm asking myself, well, where are the men in the society? Where are the intellectual class of the society working these kinds of things out? Either they being quiet, either they run into European countries, or either they resign themselves there. As long as I get my money, I don't care, and I can turn a blind eye to it. But I don't know, man. But I'll just leave it, man. I'll leave it to continue for the fluidity of the conversation.
Man, why is Buana defending every motherfucking killer right now? I mean, at first I was like, okay, maybe he wasn't really defending the other guy or whatever. But like, who in the world says something good about what's Mobutu? Of all the motherfuckers, of all the people on the planet, I would never have a good word for Mobutu, man. That was wild.
I'll even defend a Duvalier. You get me in the conversation. I really defend Duvalier. So I'm out there with the politics of things, man, because and it's like I said, I don't agree with everything that these brothers did, but I understand the idea of a strong man and why they are needed in some countries. But I like I say, I'll leave it.
Listen, let me just say this. You wild for that. But I'll say this. You know, I don't mind the differences of opinions. Like Oni said, and I kind of like that. He said, we're all searching for the same thing. We might be taking different paths to get there. So, you know, with that in mind, I also think we should be fairer in our criticisms of certain things as well. You know, so keep that in mind. Let's go to should read topic number 4 for time's sake. We're going to end at 11 tonight. Should read topic number 4 is Great House. It's Great House, also known as X Spots the Mark on Twitter. Is Great House the worst Afrocentrist on Twitter? So we're going to watch this video. I think it takes us to Twitter. No, it takes us to YouTube. We're going to watch this, and we'll watch a few minutes of it, and then we'll discuss.
Good pro-Africa and pan-African channels in general have a hard time gaining respect due to being algorithmically adjacent to or unjustly associated with some particularly bad black conspiracist channels, and this isn't helped when larger creators, whether black or not, promote low-quality African history. That brings me to an Afrocentrist Twitter user called Great House, who currently has 29,700 followers as of the time of writing this script, 18th of December 2023. He used to post fairly mild and relevant critiques and corrections of Eurocentric history, but earlier this year he started posting increasingly inflammatory and inaccurate claims about history, aimed not at correcting misrepresentations of African history, but at distorting European history. This has rewarded him with a significant growth in followers. These days, you could pretty much choose any of his tweets at random and find something absurdly historically inaccurate, or even a deliberate falsification of history, whether by himself or his source. But in this video, I'll cover just 5 of his tweets as an example of why he is so consistently incompetent at representing history, demonstrating how he cites sources he hasn't validated, doesn't know how to assess sources for accuracy, doesn't understand how to read sources, doesn't know how to do proper research, and even cites sources which clearly don't support any of his own statements. Along the way, I'll demonstrate what proper research looks like, which should be used, and understanding how to avoid poor sources. Great House doesn't validate his sources. On the 15th of May 2023, he posted a screenshot of a translation of the 538 BCE Cyrus cylinder, a clay cylinder containing a decree of the Persian king Cyrus the Great. Great House claimed this showed, quote, Persians were the first society in recorded history to write a Bill of Rights, guaranteeing freedom of religion and equality under the law, end quote, further asserting, quote, they also declared that all conquered people under Persian rule had the same rights as Persian citizens, end quote. I am familiar with the Cyrus cylinder, having studied it during my classics undergraduate course, so I knew the translation he put on screen was inaccurate. Since Great House had posted it without any attribution, I asked, could you please quote the Persian texts in which we're told Cyrus did this? Instead, Great House just reposted the screenshot of the English translation. So I pressed for more information, saying, the picture does not contain what I asked for. I asked for quotations from Persian texts saying Cyrus did these things. The picture does not contain this. In turn, I received the same image yet again. I then asked, source please, a proper academic citation, preferably a critical text. Next, one of Great House's followers said, quote, that's a primary source. That's the document itself, translated into a language you read. Did you want to read it in Babylonian? End quote. I then had to explain to them what they were actually looking at. I told them, quote, I've read the text in question. That screenshot is not the document itself. It's not even half the text, and it barely qualifies as a translation given how far it departs from the source material. Can you tell me who the translator was and where that translation came from? End quote. At this point, I received no further replies from them. I also pointed out that even the tenses used in the English translation showed this was an anachronistic description of what Cyrus actually did, writing, quote, "This is not a quotation from any Persian text saying Cyrus did these things. Even in English, this is very clear. Check the tenses. Perhaps you could provide the relevant quotations. Academic citations, please. Preferably a critical text." End quote. Greathouse reposted the image along with screenshots of a scholarly work on Persian history, but the book did not contain the translation he was citing and did not say what the translation was. At this point, it was clear he was totally out of his depth and did not even understand what a critical text is. So I responded with, quote, "This is not what I asked for. Do you have what I asked for? Do you know what a critical text is?" End quote. So what did I know that Greathouse didn't know? Firstly, I knew that a screenshot of a partial translation of an ancient text without any identification of the translator or date of translation should be verified rather than simply accepted. Secondly, I knew the text in the translation screenshot he provided was totally anachronistic, using modern wording and the wrong tenses. Thirdly, I knew that an academic translation is typically made from a critical text, which is a version of an original text which has been reconstructed from the primary sources available and which identifies which parts of the original text are missing, as well as which parts of the reconstructed text are uncertain, conjecture, or disputed. A critical text is essential for verifying the translation of the source. It was clear Greathouse did not even know what a critical text is. Fourthly, I had checked critical texts of the Cyrus cylinder in two standard academic collections of ancient texts. Firstly, Pritchard's Ancient Near Eastern Texts Relating to the Old Testament, and secondly, Hallow and Younger's Context of Scripture. So I knew this translation was wildly inaccurate. On screen now, you'll see an excerpt from the critical translation in Ancient Near Eastern Texts, published in 1969, and you'll notice the number of places in the text where words are missing, indicated by a small row of 3 dots, or words have been placed in square or round brackets, indicating they are hypothetical reconstructions, or have been added to the text in order to make sense in English, but don't appear in the original text. The reconstructed translation given in Ancient Near Eastern Texts says Cyrus abolished the forced labor imposed on the population by the previous king, but this section is marked with ellipses, square brackets, and round brackets, indicating difficulties with the meaning and certain completeness of the original primary source. It does seem Cyrus at least exempted the Babylonian elites from such forced labor. The more modern translation in Context of Scripture, dating to 2000, renders the text, quote, "As for the citizens of Babylon, upon whom he," that's the previous king, "imposed corvée," that's the forced labor, "which was not the God's will and not befitting them, I relieved their weariness and freed them from their service," end quote. However, later in the same text, Cyrus informs us that he ordered new constructions for which he used, quote, "a levy of workmen of Babylonians," end quote. That term, levy of workmen, is referring to the kind of forced labor he claimed to have previously abolished. And in this case, the text is absolutely certain. So Cyrus himself tells us he imposed forced labor on the Babylonian population, as the previous king did. Cyrus attempts to make himself sound benign, insisting, quote, "My vast army moved about Babylon in peace. I did not permit anyone to frighten the people of Sumer and Akkad. I sought the wealth of the city of Babylon and all its sacred centers," end quote. Of course, this is the typical kind of propaganda we find written by any emperor who has literally invaded an entire city-state, taken over a previous empire, and made the previous rulers his servants. Historians know to read these texts with appropriate skepticism. Very tellingly, Cyrus also claims he subjected, quote, "all the kings who sit upon thrones throughout the world," end quote, to the position of servants who sent him annual tribute, asserting, quote, "all of them brought their heavy tribute before me, and in Babylon they kissed my feet," end quote. This is not a declaration of human rights. This is the declaration of the absolute power of an absolute monarch who is making the known world's rulers bow down to him and grovel. There is no mention of human rights anywhere in the entire document, which is hardly surprising given its historical context. Of course, we don't find the translation Great House quoted in either ancient Near Eastern texts or context of scripture. So, where did it come from? It wasn't long before I discovered the real source of this Declaration of Human Rights claim, a political propaganda exercise by Shah of Iran, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, who described the Cyrus Cylinder as a Declaration of Human Rights in 1968 as part of a campaign to consolidate and validate his reign. In 1971, the Shah presented the Cyrus Cylinder to the United Nations, where the Secretary General proclaimed it as an, quote, ancient declaration.
Okay, so the white boy starts to get into some minutia of a point, but I think the idea is that for those who are familiar with Great House on Twitter, in fact, let me pull up his page. So this is Great House on Twitter. As you see, is Exports the Mark. He follows us. He disappears from time to time, it seems, and then he comes back with something. And I don't know how these white folks got onto him, man, but they be in his mentions trying to challenge what he's saying about history and things of that nature. Well, I guess he kind of goes around commenting on things of theirs too, and they come back at him and whatnot. So it's impressive that somebody, I don't know who this person is, Veritas et Caritas on YouTube. I'm it's interesting that they did a whole hour-long video about this brother, or I'm assuming an hour-long video about this brother. It's very, very interesting. They do pay attention to some of us, at least. In the chat, Trigger Happy 262 Plus said Afrocentrist basically means black person in these convos, or Hotep would mean the N-word too. The sad thing is when other African people use those terms disparagingly against other African people. With that said, I'll ask Buana. Buana's not familiar with Great House, but based on the little that you've seen or heard here from the white guy in the video, what say you briefly? And then I'll go to Oni.
Yeah. So what I would say is they listen to, see, people like Oni, people like Kamji Verse. These people are they're very skilled at Twitter and the internet and things like that. And these are intellectual people too. They can break down things very, very well. So despite the fact that sometimes you may believe that they don't have large followings, they listen very carefully because they're really trying to figure out who is who. And Great House seems to be one of these people of their ilk as well. So they scrutinize them very carefully, because they know that these people have the ability to break down their information. For me personally, I don't care about what they think no more. I out of that kind of argument and trying to educate white folks in terms of us being civilized and correcting them or the lies that they created in history and things like that. But my brothers and them on the internet, they have the time to do that. And they'll spend their time breaking these things down and making things that are unclear clear. Because this is a new generation now, Coco. This ain't our generation. This is the next generation, the next iteration. And they have the time to do it. It's just interesting to me that this brother is able. I put them all in the same kind of line. Him, Oni, and KMG Verse. They are very capable men, and they are able to have wage these ideological wars and Twitter and things of that nature. I don't really care about what these white guys. I don't care. I don't even care even to express and explain it. I understand that my people now we have a deficit in terms of ignorance and historical understandings, and I try my best to inform my people in terms of what's going on in the world to the best of my ability, because I know that I can't save everyone. But for the ideological wars, I put my soldiers up. I leave the owners of the world and the Kamji Verses and this brother right here. I don't even know who he is.
to fight these ideological wars on the internet, man. But I really don't even give a shit about what these guys think in terms of us being civilized or uncivilized and getting the right information. I know they lying. I know they lying. They've been lying. And I'm not trying to correct them or their lies anymore. You know what I mean? I'm a free man. But my intellectual brothers, they take the time to an initiative to do these kinds of corrections, and I say more power to them. More power to them. But I'll leave it there. I'll leave it.
Bon, I appreciate that. And I do agree with you. I don't care to sit up and try to convince white folks. I mentioned this, once I mentioned this on Shoot the Breeze a little while ago, or maybe it was Twitter itself, that the thing about the average white person, man, they've made it a thing where they know how to make apples and oranges out of a conversation. So you start talking about something, they know how to shift that conversation to something that you're not even really talking about, but they'll make it seem like that's what you're talking about. So I realized that some years ago. I don't even waste my time trying to convince this white boy of nothing. You know what? And Trigger Happy says it best here. What I worry about is being propagandized and our people being propagandized. Trigger Happy in the chat says, I agree. I don't necessarily care about what other races think regarding history. I think we have to care about the battle of propaganda. The worst part is the black people who agree with them. And that's what I care about more. You know, that whole thing of trying to convince these folks, man, that's, for me, and I guess for Buana, that's wasted energy. And for some of you out there like Trigger, that's wasted energy. But to educate our people, to be able to understand, don't pay attention to their rebuttal. Don't pay attention. Now, I give Great House his respect. He rolls up his sleeve like he has time. And he'll go back and forth. I know the brother who's to be in the chat sometimes, Ketter, and those guys be retweeting and responding. Like, he has the time and more power to him. Keep up the fight, brother. But me personally, and to be clear too, I think in many ways, Great House is doing exactly what we're saying too. He's doing it in his way. By putting up the resistance to their rebuttals and stuff like that, he's, I imagine, trying to display to other black folks, this is how you do it. This is the real information. Don't let them come and tell this lie to try to change your understanding of a thing. You know? So maybe that's his way of doing it too. Like we, it's a nation but many paths. So, you know, I'll give him his credit. He has that spirit to take them on like that and go back and forth. Me personally, I don't. But let's hear what Oni has to say. Oni and his brothers seems to be kind of cool. So Oni, what say you?
Yeah, I mean, I know Trigger just said, you know, we shouldn't agree with white folk, but I'm gonna agree with white folk. I'm gonna agree with this white man. Great House is the worst Afrocentrist. This dude just be randomly talking about Odie don't get no buns or some shit, you know.
I was gonna bring it up.
What you say?
I was gonna mention it, but I said nah. Let me not mention that. But go ahead.
Yeah, I know, right? This dude just be randomly. You just be in the middle of fighting a good fight, you know, on the front lines or whatever, and then he just be like, "Yo, Odie, why you don't get no buns?" Like, damn, I do. like, yo, focus. So yeah, I can see him. I can see him being the worst. It makes sense. But yeah, this white boy was annoying. Jeez Louise, I don't even know. Like, damn. So you said it was an hour-long video, or was it? I thought it was 3 hours or something. How long was it? Hour or 3 hours?
I think it was 59 minutes. Let me see it again. Hold on.
Oh, 59 minutes? Oh, okay.
51 minutes.
51 minutes, yeah. This dude does a whole hour. And look how many people viewed it, too. Like, it looks like, I think the last time I saw it was like 16,000 people saw it, right? How many is it? Oh, I can't see right now. But yeah,
16K.
Yeah,
16K viewed it. 855 liked it.
Yeah. So a bunch of white folk are sitting around trying to see, because that's the thing too. I noticed that they were all trying to challenge his brother. Now this brother, you know, he stood his ground. You know what I mean? So they said in their best of their best. This white boy just came out of like he just came out of the fucking closet or some shit. I don't know, but he you know. Oh, I could read the Persian. Like his name is like in Chinese and shit. He's one of them white boys, and you know, I'm pretty sure Great House schooled him a couple of times, but yeah. I mean, I think this white boy. I mean, obviously he's tripping. Obviously, white boy is getting big mad. I could appreciate that. You know, I agree. I really try not to engage white folk. But because I know that, you know, white folk just learn to do better against you. You know what I mean? Like today it was going viral that these white boys was like, oh, how come you black people can't say the word ask, right? Which is like, you know, and I remember hearing that like 20 years ago, you know? Oh no, 10 years ago. And then the same way, like there was another thing that they used to say, oh yeah, I remember before I even heard what black nationalism was. So I was in high school before I even heard what black nationalism was, right? These white people were like, oh, what are you, sort of black nationalist? Some sort of black nationalist? You believe in Yakub and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what are they talking about? Right? And it wasn't until I read Malcolm X later that I realized what they were talking about. They were clowning us for it. But what I saw was that a lot of white folk, because you got to see the connections here, right? A lot of white folk learn from your best, and then they could school your worst. You know what I mean? Because basically, if you could, like, because you know, Great House knows his shit. Okay, so if you could argue with Great House, you could argue with somebody, you know, not on that level. You know what I'm saying? Because now you got all the best arguments, and if you got it already prepared, then you could start countering black. Because, like I said, before I even knew about black nationalism, white folk were clowning. They were like, oh, they were pretty much discouraging me from going to black nationalism. You see what I'm saying? See, because when they telling you, oh, you believe in Yakub and you believe that black people invented, they created white people in the lab and type shit. When you hear that, you like, I don't want to be a part of that dumb shit. But they got that from engaging black folk and then, you know, spreading the information among themselves. Okay, look, they're going to say this. Look, they're going to say that. Look, avoid using this topic. Look, avoid using that topic. And then when they go back out into the world, they engage the brothers who don't got the kind of reading, and they school you on that. You know, because now all of a sudden they the smart ones, because they already done wrestled with your best. You know, and this is like an old tactic. Like I said, I wrote about this. I don't know. I want to say like 15 years ago. I got an article on my website about this. You know, I call it the debate winner, where it's like you don't really win because all you're doing is informing the other man how to beat, the second place, the silver medalist. You get the gold medalist, but they're learning how to beat the silver medalist. You know, so yeah, I mean, yeah, but I mean, obviously, yeah, respect for Great House. He's a cool guy. Minus the whole, fighting me for no damn reason, but but like, yeah, he's a cool brother. Yeah, and like Barter says, Kajiverse is a good guy too. Oni's pretty cool too. So there it is. As far as the best Afrocentrist on Twitter, obviously it's Oni, but I'm just messing with y'all. That's it.
Yeah, something you said there is really key too. An example of, so you said that these white folks come around the Afrocentrists, for example, learn the arguments against their bullshit, and then go amongst themselves, discuss it. Hey, don't bring this up. You know what's a good example of that, in my opinion? The Jared Taylor versus Tariq Nasheed debate, where he was able to beat up on a silly Negro like Tariq, who claims to be a historian but can't even can't string words together. But that's an example of that. They already know what a guy like Tariq is going to come with. Plebiscite Bible, as he would call it. They already know that, and they are ready to chop down anything he's saying. This is why, like you said, Oni, and I agree, no one really wins with those arguments. They're good at that. Like I said, those apples and origin, an argument, a discussion. So you might as well just keep to yourself. But I guess, like I said, what Great House does, he tries to show other people how to engage, how to debunk, etc. If there's no last words here, let's go to the final topic for the night. Any last words on this topic?
Yes,
All right.
there's some last words.
Okay.
There's some last words.
One, your volume is down again. Go ahead.
Yeah, I used to do that. Oh, sorry. I know you can hear me now because I take the headphones off. So I used to do that back in the. I used to engage in the whole idea of the one-upsmanship because just as these guys used to read from the black Afrocentric playbook. I used to read from that playbook all the time. Yeah, all the time. With reading the Turner Diaries, I reading with the presidents of the United States, that their political philosophies and ideas, and Thomas Jefferson, or all of these people. So I could, just as they used to debate with me, I would have debated with them with that. You know what I mean? So it used to be, we used to engage in this whole idea of one-upsmanship. But I recognize, as more and more, that even if I do that, that the whole idea is we say so. In their minds, they don't care. They don't care, regardless of the fact that in some unsurmountable evidences that's put before them, they don't care. They gonna stick to, we still run it because we run it because we say so. So what is the point of that? So my idea now is to convince the black man, in terms of his mind, to get that on so-called quote unquote, to believe in himself. Because the problem is not necessarily what the white guys believe, because they go believe in what they can believe in. But the problem is the black person has not digested and internalized the belief in himself, and understanding that the white man is only bluffing. He is only bluffing. He gonna show you all kind of images and ideas and so-called evidence, quote unquote evidence, that he run the show. But the reality is that humanity is humanity. Humanity is humanity. We was here first, and he bluffing. He lies consistently. But my task and my job is to convince my brothers, people who look like me on the street corners, that this man is lying. As same as he do in the world that he create, you could create the same kind of world, or a world that's better. You just must be convinced of that. So I am still trying to engage in the so-called one-upsmanship, and to say, well, we is here first and we built the pyramids and all that good stuff. That's beautiful. But my job is to convince the brothers who look just like me that you could be the gods of this world, the so-called pharaohs in this world, and you could recreate your own reality as they did. They are lying on every day on the TV and Netflix and social media all day long, promoting themselves as the best of the best of the world. They are bluffing. It's all a bluff. And here's why. That's my job. And that's my job now. And I hope that my brothers, my intellectual brothers, like you say, Calamity versus him, stop arguing with these people, because they gonna always be convince a man against his will. He'll still be of the same opinion still. So 50 years from now, he still will be lambasting you and trying to convince you that you were just a monkey in Africa. What's the point of that? Let me convince my own community that they're the gods of the universe. That's my job. And I hope that one day my brothers who on Twitter right now, will come to that conclusion ultimately. But I'll stop there for the sake of time.
I appreciate that, Buana. Should be topic number 5 tonight. I want to thank everyone who was up here on the panel. Black Seal, Bakari, of course, Buana, and Oni, who is still here. I want to thank everyone who was out there in the chat, who was here or who still is here. Shout out to Anthony McPhail. Didn't see him tonight. Hope all is well with him. Shout out to Real Black Gentleman. Didn't see him as well. Shout out to the matron and others. Should be topic number 5 tonight. Says media analysis. Despite how crucial Hannibal is when it comes to being a great innovator of Western world military strategy, what are your thoughts on this analysis about the sacrifice of Black imagery? This comes with a link that's taking us to YouTube again. we'll watch the video and then we'll discuss it.
War is a big part of human history. Results of wars have defined our modern landscape. This process continues today and may be with us in the future. Some military leaders have been celebrated in Western culture as legends, Hannibal Barca being among them. Hannibal shook the Roman Empire and is often hailed as the greatest general to have ever lived. The interesting thing is that with most great military leaders, we have a general idea what they looked like. But when it comes to Hannibal, arguably the greatest of them all, there exists some bemusement. Today, let's explore why this controversy persists. What up, African world? It's Team here, and welcome back to another video of African history, culture, and worldview. By supporting this channel on Patreon, you're helping in the creation of these videos and contributing to this content. The link to Patreon is in the description box below. To begin, this video is theory-based, so be sure to be a cautious observer. This video is not designed to affirm or reject any particular ethnic or phenotypical origin of Hannibal. The purpose is to address why some historians have formed the question to begin with. In the latter half of the video, I'll be shifting gears by introducing a theory as to why the image of Hannibal in popular culture changed over time. Denzel Washington, according to several sources, is set to be cast as Hannibal in an upcoming Netflix film. Hannibal Barca was a Carthaginian general who came to prominence around 219 BC. Ancient Carthage was located in North Africa, centered in what is today the modern country of Tunisia. Some Tunisians have been vocal about the casting of Denzel Washington, claiming it to be an historical error. Others attribute it to woke culture or pseudo-history. According to reports, some of them feel they're being robbed of their history, as Hannibal is a very celebrated figure in Tunisian culture, a hero to many. Given the modern population of Tunisia, the casting of Denzel Washington would undoubtedly elicit many grievances. So it begs the question, why would Netflix do such a thing? And why is there even a question of Hannibal's phenotype to begin with? Is it not clear that Hannibal was an ancient Tunisian man exhibiting the same or similar ethnic characteristics? Apparently, the answer to that question is not as clear. For starters, according to the scholarship, no unassailable portrait of Hannibal exists. At least, we have yet to discover one. Just as no letters from Hannibal, whether to his wife or to anyone else, have been preserved, so no bust or statue exists that can safely be identified with him. The coins and or busts that are usually associated with Hannibal are said to either depict the Phoenician Hercules or a generic image of a hero. Take, for example, this highly disseminated bust of Hannibal. There is no agreement as to whether this is an authentic image of him, and many aren't aware of that fact. One source shares the image along with the following description. Presumed marble portrait bust of Hannibal found near Naples. Strong suspicions exist that this is actually a Renaissance work and not a Roman portrait. And in fact, we have no authentic likeness of the great Carthaginian commander. This nuance is still not enough to be so tentative regarding the phenotype of Hannibal. Why can't we just presume he looked like the modern population? Well, the problem arises with one countervailing discovery. A Western Asian phenotypical origin of Hannibal would have ridden off into the sunset unquestioned if it wasn't for one nagging thing. The coin of Transamine has fashioned the question of Hannibal's phenotype greatly difficult. The reason being is twofold. It seems legitimate, and it's far too closely aligned with one of Hannibal's most popular victorious campaigns. While other coins may have been designed to symbolize Hannibal or represent him, this coin of Transamine may have been commissioned by Hannibal to represent himself. The coin seems to have not been minted in Carthage, but in Italy. To some, this may strengthen or weaken its legitimacy. Most people and scholars alike will say that the head of the black man represents the elephant driver. However, the dilemma is that by that time, only one elephant of the Carthaginians survived according to the scholarship, and it was Hannibal's elephant. Because General Hannibal now organized his armies and gave orders from Surus, the last elephant, presumably elephants had no part in the next few battles. Hannibal crushed Roman legions at Lake Trasimene in history's greatest ambush. Due to this information, the idea that the Trasimene coin, being a phenotypical representation of Hannibal himself, is just as legitimate as any other explanation. So as we can see, determining the ethnic phenotype of Hannibal is a cycled imbroglio that we all have yet to liberate ourselves from. The discovery of this coin is what seemingly anchors the controversy and the reason why many depictions of Hannibal have been so diverse or inconsistent over the years. The Netflix series was certainly not the first time Hannibal was portrayed as a black man. The History Channel did so as well. If I recall correctly, Hannibal throughout film culture was usually depicted with Mediterranean features. So why the shift? Why would the film industry, with an extensive history of harmful imagery in relation to Afro-descendant people, now suddenly portray a black man in a prominent role? Well, admittedly, I have a controversial theory to explain that. I believe film culture is knocking two birds with one stone. They've hardly changed the harmful imagery of black people at all. They simply transformed it, also known as preservation through transformation. And I think American film culture does this brilliantly. As of late, there's been obvious pressure to diversify film. Casting directors accomplish preservation through transformation by answering the call to diversity, but by also maintaining harmful undercurrents that are only identifiable over time. It's a creeping normalcy that by the end establishes a clear message. And you seldom recognize it because it becomes so normal. Hence the term creeping normalcy. My theory comes in to identify the phenomenon and put a name to it. I call it Ender's theory. Ender's theory embarks to explain the intentional typecasting of racial groups in distinctive roles featuring tragic or inimical ends. This selective casting is typically reserved for highly esteemed historical, mythologized, or fictional figures. According to Ender's theory, one segment of film culture is trying to send a message most often to people of African descent. The message is, even your greatest day ends in tragedy. The function of these films, according to the theory, is to remind us of some ethnic failure in our past, but more importantly in our future. Casting does this even if it means sacrificing sacred historical cows in return for targeting a specific racial group to morally inflict. In the case of Afro-descendant people, the goal is to keep your vision uncompetitive, hence the title of this video, Stay in Your Place. This idea is not new. Some of our greatest thinkers like Dr. Claude Anderson speaks about this extensively. Entire laws were established to keep Afro-descendant people uncompetitive. Michelle Alexander, the author of The New Jim Crow, theorizes herself that Jim Crow and mass incarceration were designed to control and warehouse a disposable population, keeping them uncompetitive through legal discrimination and barring them from the mainstream economy. Films are not only reflections of the culture, but messages to the culture. These messages have been sent through film for quite some time and in diverse ways. Though Ender's theory can get a bit dark, we have to remember that American film culture is not immune to dark messages. So while some may consider this a tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, I implore you to simply consider the historical patterns. For example, Cleopatra for quite some time was depicted with Euro features. She was a sacred cow of sorts, and then this began to change. Ender's theory would explain this transition by proclaiming that film culture thought it critical to fulfill the diversity quota, but maintain an Afro-adjacent character that meets a tragic end. Interestingly enough, I've yet to come across a live-action film about ancient Egypt that centralizes an Afro-descended lead, yet an exception seems to be made for Cleopatra. I find that oddly specific. The same goes for Hannibal, another sacred cow. His portrayal changed over time because he also had a tragic end. These two historical sacred cows can be sacrificed into blackness because of the unfavorable storyline. Ender's theory would point out two other examples to ground its theory. To my knowledge, there has been no corpulence allotted in the budgeting of films depicting, say, Queen Amanirenas of Kush or the Haitian Revolution. Queen Amanirenas lived contemporaneous to Cleopatra and fought the same Roman foe, but with completely opposite results. The Haitian Revolution, with its many historical figures, literally achieved the only successful slave revolution in human history that established a lasting state. What a glorious human story. Yet according to Ender's theory, the reason why film culture has not introduced these stories to the world in typical large budget fashion is because of what they represent. If you're in tune with what I'll call modern Black folklore, you'll discover how some members of the community make jokes about the roles of Black presidents in film. The narrative is that whenever you see a Black president being portrayed, you know the world is about to end. In general, a common theme seems to be Black leadership in the midst of great tragedy or human loss. Circling back to tangible examples of Ender's theory would be the films Othello and Macbeth, two tragedies. While a case can be made about Othello being an African originating further south, as there were many conscripted soldiers constituting Moorishness, if you will, the average layman wouldn't necessarily view the Moors as such. Yet over time, Othello seems to be the exception. In addition, there is really no reason why Macbeth should be portrayed as an Afro-descended man, as he's based on a Scottish general. Yet in the most recent iteration, there he is. We have to ask ourselves, what's the common theme here? It's tragedy. Let's sum up the examples used in this video. Cleopatra, who traditionally not viewed as an Afro-descended individual, has a tragic end by self-infliction. Hannibal, also traditionally not viewed as an Afro-descended individual, has a tragic end by self-infliction. Othello, a fictional character, at times viewed as an Afro-descended individual, has a tragic end by self-infliction. Macbeth, a fictional character, not traditionally viewed as an Afro-descended individual, has a tragic end by decapitation. Ender's theory explains these patterns as sacred cows who were sacrificed into blackness to meet the demand of diversity while advancing negative or tragic ends. Now, obviously, Ender's theory does not apply to all films that feature non-Euro descended people. In general, they have to be highly esteemed characters, like the ones mentioned in this video. Some weaknesses to this theory. The principle, I believe, being the intentionality issue. The irony is that pernicious messages concerning Afro-descended people have been going on for centuries. It is possible that some writers or casting directors truly believe they're doing good for the sake of progress. Because the framework of Black agency has been typecasted for centuries in the negative, that is all film producers, writers, or casting directors really know. And so we're left with tragic ends such as Cleopatra and Hannibal. Plausibly, Ender's theory may not be intentional at all. Well, I'm all out, guys. Let me know your perspective in the comments below. And if you like these videos and want to help in its continued production, consider supporting the home team on Patreon.
Yeah. Interesting topic here. Only in the chat, you said you don't believe in the Ender's theory that the brother speaks of. Can you break down your understanding of the Ender's theory, what it is you don't agree with at the start of your complete response to this prompt?
I mean, obviously, I might be saying it a lot, but shit, like this is what I mean about different strategies and why, like, we like it would be difficult for us to be as successful people because this is a big account, and this, like, the shit he's saying is just like, you would just hate for Black people to think this way. Right now, I guess it was Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington played Macbeth. Don't make a big deal about it. don't make it into the reason why he played Macbeth because it's a tragedy. That's stupid. Like, that's stupid. As far as Othello, everybody knows Othello was black. Oh, Othello was supposed to be a black man. Like, it's in the story. In fact, I'm just trying to, I just pulled up, the whole thing. They say the word Moor 60 times, right? I was just trying to figure out where I could, huh? You said, yeah?
I was saying, yeah, he said more a whole bunch of times.
Yeah, because the guy is a Moor, and they're like, yo, this dude's a Moor. Now, you could, now some people would say, oh, I don't think it was. No, this is Shakespeare. Okay, so in Shakespeare's time, they're talking about, oh, that Moor. Now, of course, I'm not saying all the Moors were black. I'm not saying all the Moors were African, any of this stuff. But what I'm saying is that everybody named Mama knew that this was not a white man. This was not an Englishman. This was a foreigner. And they made the whole thing in the story about him being a foreigner. And I mean, you could say, well, was he black or not? That's fine. But most people in America, at least, understood, you know what? This guy's probably a black guy. Right? And as far as Hannibal is concerned, this is why, because I mean, this guy's a historian. He's a historian. He's a popular historian account. So you would expect that not to hear this sort of ignorant shit. But let me say this. One of the first books I got in the Black African tradition, whatever, was Hannibal's Appeal. I went to a black bookstore. Not Hannibal's Appeal, sorry. David Walker's Appeal. Went to a black bookstore. The guy said, look, you should get this book, that book, and you should get David Walker's Appeal. And I was like, okay, bet. Right? Small little book. One of my favorites for a moment. Right? He writes here, David Walker, and mind you, I want people to understand, David Walker writes this book a year before Nat Turner's insurrection. Okay? So this is not, woke culture. This is not so on and so forth. This is a book written in 1829. Okay? A book written in 1829. Got nothing to do with anything we know. This was during slavery. Okay? A black man wrote a book during slavery in 1829. What he wrote was, I say, when I view retrospectively the renown of that once mighty people, the children of our great progenitors, I am indeed cheered. Yes, further, when I view the mighty son of Africa, Hannibal, one of the greatest generals of antiquity, who defeated and cut off so many thousands of white Romans or murderers who carried his victorious arms. So, and right before that, he was saying, how great ancient Egypt was, the ancient Egyptians for building the pyramids and all that kind of stuff, right? This is a man in 1829. You understand what I'm saying? Like again, I don't think people are picking up on 1829. This is roughly 200 years ago. This man is talking about a black Egypt. He's talking about the Hamites being Africans. He's talking about Hannibal being black. This was common knowledge in 1829 to the point where I don't know if he was enslaved. I don't think he was enslaved, but to the point where an African person, a black person who was reading books at the time would have known, oh yeah, Hannibal was black. As a historian, you're supposed to know that there was a deliberate effort on the part of white folk at that point in time to erase the history of African people in order to justify on an intellectual level the oppression of black people, the enslavement of black people. But everybody who knew anything already knew, yes, the ancient Egyptians were black. Yes, Hannibal was black. Everybody knew this. Okay? So to come back and be like, well, the reason why they're playing Hannibal is because he died a tragic ending. First off, there wasn't even a tragic ending, really. But anyway, but my point is that he's a black man. And as a black man, you would say to yourself, yeah, it's right to choose a black man. Now, I could understand if you said, well, why are you picking Denzel Washington? Why don't you pick a black man from Tunisia or something? That would make a little more sense, sure. But, I mean, I get why you're putting Denzel Washington. He's like one of the biggest black. He's been the biggest black actor, for the last 30 years, right? but it's just frustrating. Like I mean, yeah, they put him in Macbeth because he's the fucking biggest fucking actor. He's a fucking he's our Keanu Reeves, if you will. I don't know. Why? Like what? He's huge. It's Denzel fucking Washington. Like I tell you guys, I didn't even know about actors. I didn't even know about movies. First time I heard of I was probably still living in I guess I was born in Bed-Stuy or some shit. I was a baby. No. Matter of fact, I was visiting my family back then. I was like a damn teenager or some shit, or maybe a younger a preteen or whatever. And I was hearing the sexiest man in the world, Denzel Washington. This was like 20 damn years ago. They were talking about the sexiest, but 30 years ago, they were talking about the sexiest man in the world is Denzel Washington. And now 20 years later, 30 years later, he's still getting fucking prominent movie roles. And then you try to say, well, the only reason why they did it is because he's huge. And he's been huge. And then you try to say, well, I think it's because, and it's like, why do we keep asking these white boys to do everything for us? And then when they don't do it, and then when they do something, we find some sort of problem with it. And when they don't do something, we talk about like what do you fucking want? Denzel Washington wanted a job. He wanted to play a role and everybody wants to play a Shakespeare shit because Shakespeare, is considered one of the best writers in English, in the English language. Everybody wants to do this shit. They give him the fucking best position. Then you decide, well, you know what? They only did that because the guy died. It's fucking Shakespeare. Everybody fucking dies in Shakespeare. Like, come on. Like, fuck you, man. Like, that guy pissed me off. I ain't gonna hold you, man. Hey, that's it. Sorry.
No, but only a quick question. Do you think it's widely known today? I understand Walker talking about 200 years ago. Do you think it's widely known today that Hannibal was a black guy?
I don't think. Look, if we're being honest, man, Hannibal's not widely known. Period. You know what I'm saying? You stop somebody, you talk about Hannibal. Nobody knows who that is. But as far as because again, I don't know because I'm relatively in a bubble, so I don't know. But I think if somebody knows who Hannibal is, yeah, they recognize him as a. I'm pretty sure they recognize a black guy, if not an African, but I'm pretty sure they recognize him as a black guy. I think anybody who knows Hannibal, except for those people that Great House might be arguing with, the whites, the quote unquote, the white people try to push white people did everything narrative, right? Except for those white revisionists, I think everybody knows that Hannibal is black. You know what I mean? Like I can't see how somebody who knows who Hannibal is wouldn't know the guy is black. Or at least, and remember, we're talking about America, where there's at this point 3 damn ethnic groups. He wasn't white, and he wasn't Latino. Now if you think he's Middle Eastern, that's different. You know what I mean? Like if you think that's a possibility. Like it's again, most people know he's African, at least African. Most people know he's black. At best, they think he's probably it's kind of like with Jesus, where it's like they say, "Oh, Jesus." If you look at his description, he's bronze with woolly hair. Now the only people that could fit bronze with woolly hair is either a black person or a mixed person. You know what I'm saying? Because you ain't gonna get woolly hair if you don't got black blood, right? Most people would think, okay, even with Jesus, they're like, okay, if you really were to if you know that description of Jesus, you'll probably say, either he's black or he's, mixed with black. Because look at this picture right here. Only people with woolly hair. Like that lady right there. She's mixed, I think. And she has woolly, kind of like woolly-ish hair. So it's yeah, if you know who Hannibal is. So I wouldn't say it's widely known because most people don't know who Hannibal is. But if you were asking people, if you were to categorize him in America, again, it would either be it's between Middle Eastern or African, but he obviously wasn't like a Roman or some shit. You know what I mean? Like at that point in time, and everybody knows at that point in time on the planet, the only white group were the Romans. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously there were the other smaller, insignificant tribes of other white folk, but the big dog was the Roman, and and it's kind of like with the argument that John Clark said, Jesus wasn't a Roman. You know what I mean? Like, and Othello, Hannibal wasn't a Roman. But like, yeah, I think most people. I mean, again, most people don't know Hannibal. Most people don't know who Toussaint Louverture is. But like, there's a whitewashing, and I think a lot of people like there was a big, heavy whitewash, but white people did it on purpose. But to go back and say, well, the reason why they want to make it, but no. I mean, I think we're at the point in society, unfortunately. I mean, not fortunate, unfortunately, but fortunately, we're at the point in society where it's like you don't like. Not everything has to be whitewashed. One, and two, they're doing some blackwashing. I mean, I don't like the blackwashing personally, but they're doing some blackwashing. But either way, yeah, nobody's. I think most people know. I mean, I think the whole argument against Othello and the whole argument against Hannibal is just like sophomoric, because everybody knew, like everybody expected Hannibal to be black. Like I learned that in high school when we were reading Hannibal, they were like, "Oh, this could be a black guy." The white teachers were telling me that, and then everybody knows, like Hannibal. Sorry, I say Othello. I learned in high school. Everybody thought Othello was black, and then Hannibal. Like everybody knows that. It's just whatever.
All right, I appreciate that, Oni. So that takes us to our boy Buana. Buana, what's your media analysis of what you just saw?
Okay, so now here's where I am with this. We are living in the age of the storytellers. The storytellers are setting the pace in terms of propaganda in the world. Okay, so now the whole idea is of Hannibal, is he black or is he white or whatever. The more important thing now is they're about to come out with this movie like with Bob Marley. Everybody about to gather around the whole idea of Bob Marley, even though it's a bunch of British actors, especially this guy from Trinidad who lives in Britain playing Bob Marley. They're about to tell a story about a great black man who existed in the Western world. And everybody about to crowd around this idea who Bob Marley was. And the British, because they put up the money for the film, they're about to put their own internal message in about what Bob Marley was all about and what he stood for and his ideology. So they're about to create their own lies in terms of storytelling. And I implore the storytellers of the world, Erzuli in particular, about the ideological war that rages in terms of modern media and creating storytellers. Because it's no way in the world the British is going to produce a picture in terms of the images of Bob Marley or great black men like Hannibal Barker without putting their own messaging in it. Because ultimately, Hannibal Barker failed to destroy the Romans and what he did. So then they come up with another storyline of Bob Marley and what he did. And ultimately, he's going to die in that movie. And he ain't fulfilled whatever. The onus is on the black storytellers to create is another form of content. Haiti is replete with content in terms of creating propaganda and content in how to educate black people of what great black men would have done in history, in terms of Christophe, in terms of Dessalines, in terms of the specific things. Is so much content that's there. And you're gonna be able to get a lot of money from it too. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying that the storytellers of the world, the black storytellers of the world, I am challenging them to create content in terms of competing with the so-called white content that won't put black faces and create a narrative that's different than the narrative that we want to put out there in terms of the world. And Haiti is replete with great historical figures Forget Hannibal Barca. Let's focus on Christoph, who is the king of Haiti. The king. Imagine having a, a king in a Western world coming from a so-called slavery experience. That is something that is a storyline that you can't even buy. Where we need to have our storytellers to create these kinds of stories and put it in the minds of black people to create the idea that it is possible. Dessalines storyline that's a storyline that has not been told in the Western world, and I am challenging my filmmakers, to produce storylines like that. There was there was a Nigerian filmmaker who produced a something on YouTube that talked about um well, that's a whole nother matter where Biafra, the leader of Biafra, who was trying to separate from the Nigerian idea, they put it online as almost like a movie thing. These are the battle of ideas, in the world, the battle of storylines in the world. And I am challenging our creative artists and producers and content makers to create our own storylines, because as the white world are producing storylines with black faces that ultimately have us in a situation where we lose. We could have our own filmmakers produce storylines that where we are actively winning, where we are doing things or big affairs, that where we are thinkers in the world, that where we trying to, so it'll propagandize the children who watch these things and say, hey, wait a minute, there's an other world that we could create for ourselves. There's a other reality that we could create for ourselves. So the challenge is our movie creators and producers should produce other kinds of storylines in the world and put it out there. However, even if it's a guerrilla style on YouTube, if you have to, because that is the challenge. You won't get a Hollywood budget, so use a YouTube budget to do it. Use a YouTube budget to do it. That's revolutionary in itself. But like I say, they're gonna create whatever storylines they want to create a Hannibal Barca, but there's other great men in the world and other stories that we need to push out there in the atmosphere so our children can look at and study and say, well, hey, we could do these kinds of things too. Because like I say, I tell you all brothers before, the world is created on bluff. And the white boys want to tell a storyline that gonna ultimately have them at the head of the pace, at the head of the line. But they are liars. So we need to start producing our own content and storylines that's telling the different kinds of narrative that'll produce a different kind of reality in the world. But I'll leave it there, for briefness, man. I'll leave it there.
I guess I'll throw it out there. If there's any last words, speak now, or we can end the show here. All right. So that's the show for tonight. I think there's a lot of things you could learn in the chat from some of the comments. There's a lot you could learn from what we spoke about up here on the panel. One comment I'll read from the chat from Trigger Happy says, I agree. This media exercise is simply a matter of giving a general guide to media literacy. That's a good thing. This should lead to knowing the limitations. Yeah, that's why I always like doing the movie review stuff. Haven't done that in a while. I think Afro Native World mentioned maybe doing a review of the Bob Marley flick. I'm not certain I'm going to see that. If it's on digital soon enough, I'll talk about it because it'll be free online, but I'm not too sure about that.
Coco, why you don't want to review that? Why you don't want to review that? I'm curious about that.
For much of the reason that you said, you went and got this guy from Britain, and I guess he's British by way of Trinidad. I thought he was something else, but you went and got him. You're gonna go there. You're gonna give this narrative. The song in the trailer gives it away, right? One Love, of course, is the song they're gonna play. So you're gonna paint this picture of Rastafarianism being this certain thing that it isn't quite. You're gonna paint this picture of who Marley was, that this half white dude who blah blah blah. and I'm kind of not interested in that.
We gotta critique that, Koku. That's important for us to critique. We gotta review that and critique that, brother. We gotta make that a priority. We gotta do it. We from the Caribbean. We gotta do it. We gotta do it, Koku.
All right, but I'll hold you to it. I guess you'll be part of the review, along with Azuli. But yeah, we'll see if I get the opportunity to see it, like I mentioned before, soon. I'll check it out. That's the show for tonight. If you want to hear topics of your interest, join the Discord. The link is in the description of the show. Find yourself to Shoot the Breeze channel and post your topic as well as an article or video to go along with it. By the way, guys, please don't do too much responding to stories in the Shoot the Breeze channel because it makes it messy to follow the links with the prompts. But that's the show for tonight. Now you know where to go to give your topics that you like. Before we go, I'd like to get some positive shout outs from the panelists who are here. I'll start with Oni. Oni, what do you want to shout out this week?
I just want to shout out my brother from another mother, Xbox Mark. Definitely the worst Afrocentrist on Twitter. That's all I can say. Other than that, I don't even know what I'm going to do tomorrow, but peace and all that kind of stuff. Also, if anybody got any idea, matter of fact, I want to be in Africa at some point. What I'm going to do when I'm in Africa, I got to know. Because I might have to do premieres and stuff. We'll see. That's it, though. Appreciate you guys.
Right.
Thanks.
Appreciate you being here. Boy, what you want to shout out this week?
Yeah, I want to shout out Matron, the revolutionary Matron, who is actively reading Carlos Cook's books. The audio books are very important to the younger generation, and I would implore the brothers to support that, whether you could do it financially or even giving your time, even in just listening to some of the material that she is actively doing. The material is in very important because most people don't know who Carlos Cooks was. Yeah, because Carlos Cooks came after Marcus Garvey, but the work that she is doing is very important. You know, outside of our work right now with the Bitter Medicine podcast, and I would implore the brothers to support it if you could financially. You know, give us something for her efforts because audio books is something that is needed for the Black community. Other groups of people within the Western world has audio books, and the audio books go all around the world. Anyone can access it on YouTube. So support her if you can in her efforts. But shouts out to her, you know, in terms of just reading and getting people to know a better understanding what this Black world and the Western world was about and what our thoughts and ideas was about the world. So I would say shouts out to the revolutionary nature. Peace out.
Thank you for that. I'll shout out. I got word that Haiti or some Haitians claimed Igbo land, Bight of Biafra, as home. So that's positive. That's positive when we talk about reorienting ourselves. So I'll shout that out. I'll shout out you guys in the chat. Trigger Happy 262 Plus, Afro Native World. Provide triggers. It's probably out there. Marcus Garvey, the way it's probably out there. The Matron, who Buana mentioned. Lero, Mama used to say, and others who were here tonight. D-Web from the Posh Roddy podcast. So thank all of you who are here. Brother Bakari, thank you for being here. Urzuli, thank you for being here. Kevin Kare, thank you for being here. I'll see you guys next week, Saturday. We'll sit down and shoot the breeze again. Oh, Black Steel as well. Thank you for being here. So until next week, you guys be good. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Beta Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Beta Medicine